The power to create may all be in our favor. Heya, welcome to Creators Lightbulb. My name is Emblem, and today I'm joined with the experienced gaLEMtido. We hope to help you unlock your power to create by igniting your own lightbulb through our conversations. We cannot wait for it to explode whatever creativity you have in store. I hope you enjoy your time here, and let's begin, shall we? Lem, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Lem, but a lot of people call me Alex. You can call me Alex, I truly don't mind. I am a 19-year-old animator, and I have an animated series called The Stolen Hope, which I completed when I was 16, and I am currently rebooting now. So that's my little biography for you.
Yay! Okay. I'm gonna release like a little hiatus announcement when this episode also comes out. So I guess like if people like heard that, then you guys would already know that this is the last episode of season 1. And if you didn't hear that yet, then surprise.
Woo! Season finale.
Yeah, I have my reasons, and which hopefully will be explained well enough in the this little announcement thing. But yeah, I'm so glad to be ending off season 1 in this note with like a creator that most of us know and love. So yeah, not intimidating at all. But yes, this is totally normal. This is totally fine. And all right, I already told Lem that I was going to say this, but like knowing the audience that Lem has behind her back, there's going to be a lot of people listening to this right now, and I just have an important
Hi,
message.
everyone.
I just have like an important message just I want to like say for a little bit. I beg of you, please, those of Lem's fans like listening right now, please, like this isn't just self-promotion for me, because honestly it's really not. It's more of like, please, like, if you have the time, go back and listen to the other episodes, because there's a lot of creators that like I think you guys would really like. And just, hey, it's ended, so you could binge watch everything. Listen to it while you're arting, listen to it while writing, listen to it if you want to get inspired with these amazing people, because I really think they deserve more attention. And if there's anything I can get out of this podcast, it would just mean a lot if that was accomplished. So yeah, that was my little spiel, and now Lem and I are gonna talk about things.
I do want to say though, I do second that. Everyone who's watching this, I do want to push you to go back and watch earlier episodes, because I said this earlier, but I think it's really inspiring to go back and like hear everyone's like inspirations, their hobbies, their methods behind like doing their series and everything, and just like hearing the passion that people talk about like when they talk about their series and their characters is super motivating, and it really just humanizes the whole experience. And I think that a lot of people will really, really enjoy going back and listening to all of them. So definitely go back and watch them.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still really flattered with that statement. Like, I'm glad like the like reach its purpose.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like the whole thing was like to inspire, and just like I feel like it comes full circle at this moment, huh? It's just because many creators inspired me, and so to just be able to like, you know, like talk to one of them that did it, just it's
That's
like
so nice.
no problem. It's just like it's intimidating, but like I guess it kind of like replicates this whole journey that like
definitely. It's just crazy to think about.
Yeah, of like not just like how I've grown like with me being a creator. Like when I started Creators Lightbulb, I didn't have my series out yet. It was only just
Really?
Yeah, it was only just really like a dream or a little thing I had in mind. But the more I guess did this podcast, the more time just like allowed me to rethink if I wanted to start it or not. And I eventually like did. It's going full full throttle.
Heck yeah, you did.
Yes, yeah, you'll like hear that like throughout the podcast. I mean, if you like listen in order, just to me talking about the idea, to me talking about like the casting call us out, to me saying that I have a cast. I think that happened.
That's so wholesome.
Yeah, it's just
I already told you earlier. I haven't listened to them in order, but I'm going through them now. I got to go back and listen to them in order just to hear that. That's so cool. Oh my gosh, you have like that documented.
Yeah, it's so insane, and I just like I'm so glad I was able to do that with like listening and talking to my friends, and I just
That's gonna be so cool to go back to one day, like a couple years from now, and like be able to listen to that, and you're gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, like how times have changed."
Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, enough about me. Most of you guys know Lem, but hopefully throughout this podcast episode, you guys get to know a little bit more about her. So
Yay!
yeah, yeah. So this is the question that is on everybody's mind. What made you want to reboot The Stolen Hope?
Oh boy. So, I said this earlier, but I finished the first version when I was 16. I worked on it from the ages of 12 to 16. And when I was
Oh boy.
done, like you can tell, like I'm just gonna be honest, the first half of it was really rough. Like it was just story inconsistencies, like horrible plot holes. The character development was not very good. Like the character arcs were not lining up with everything. And I mean, I think the reason that it got such a good fan base is because someone pointed this out to me. It's because you can see the series grow with the creator, and I think that's why the series has like its charm, because you can see it improve so drastically. But after I was done, I like didn't work on it for a while because like by the time I finished, I was working on like college applications and like getting all my stuff ready for that. But then when I was done with my college applications and I went to my first year of college, I actually did not go down to my campus the first quarter because of COVID and everything. And I'm like, oh my God, wait, I can work on like a prequel series of like TSH, just like talk about everything that happened. And like the prequel like PMVs, I don't know if you've seen them or not, but
Oh yeah, I have.
they did like really well. And I was like, oh my gosh, like these like got traction and like the story's pretty good. Like it lines up nicely. And then I realized I was like looking back on it, I'm like, the thing is though, like it doesn't line up with like, you know, the original version of TSH that well.
Oh yeah.
And then I was always tinkering with the idea of like either a reboot or a sequel, but I'm like, no, like I don't have the motivation and I don't have enough time. But then COVID hit and I'm like, well, I got nothing but time. But another reason why I decided to reboot the show is because I took a class my first quarter at SCAD called Foundations of Story, and I learned how to do like story structure, like hit story beats, like what makes a good story, what makes a bad story, like how to write characters well, and like we would analyze a bunch of different stuff. We would watch movies and like talk about the different like act 1, act 2, act 3, all that stuff. So that really like in like a weird way, that was kind of like the glue to like a brick house, because like I knew what I wanted to write, but I didn't know the terminology or like this like the method behind how I wanted to write. So that like pushed me a lot in terms of like writing skill and everything and like all that stuff. So that was huge for me. And then after I got all that knowledge, I was like, okay, well, I think I'm gonna do this, because I'm thinking like worst case scenario, I don't finish it. I already had the first one that I did. I don't have anything to lose in this like scenario. And I'm pretty sure like people would follow it. So I just released the casting call and here we are, almost done with episode 2.
Successful. That's awesome. Man, if I would love to take that class myself too.
Oh my God, it was so fun.
I mean, like, and compared to the knowledge that you had when you first started the original Stolen Hope, it must have just went uphill.
Yeah, definitely. And like especially after like that class, so I look back on it and I'm like cringing, because like there's some stuff that's just like a huge no that I had in it, and I was like, oh God. But at the same time, I'm like, I can't judge myself too hard. I was 13, 14. Oh, yeah. So but still, I look back on it. Fun fact, I don't think I've seen episodes 1 through 5 of the original TSH in 2 years. Like I just can't watch them. I can't watch them. They're so bad.
God.
Yeah.
I came up with a name for that sort of thing, and I call it first episode syndrome.
Oh my
because
God.
I notice it with like most like my friends are creators, and so like most of them like release their first episode, and they keep saying how much they hate it so much, and that they just can't watch it anymore. And I'm like, this is a common phenomenon to show that you like improved and stuff. Why not give it a name?
I know. Yeah, that's a really good name for it, actually. And that's like, it's so funny too, because like people will be like, oh my God, I hate the first episode of my series. I remember Frankel talked about that with her series, and I sit there, I'm like, your first episode was one of the strongest first episodes I've ever seen. What are you talking about? It is not bad at all. But it's so funny because, like, you know, as a creator, you're like, you know, grilling into yourself so much. But then, like, from an outside
Mhm.
perspective, everyone's like, what are you talking about? Like, it's not that bad. So it's just funny to
Yeah.
think about. Like, that's a funny name, first episode syndrome. That fits perfectly.
Yeah, you're really critical of your first episode because, like, obviously, it's like the first piece of media that you
Hmm.
put out with your series. So, and especially if you like released episodes from there on out, it shows improvement. I guess that's what makes like YouTube animated series feel so genuine
Yeah,
because, like,
definitely.
compared to like big companies, of course, they put
It's
upon years and
consistent all
years
the
of
way
work.
through. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so like most creators just tend to put episodes when they're done because they just can't wait anymore, understandably.
Yeah. Which
So
I
they
kind
just
of
kind of
like
put
that
out.
too, in a way.
Mhm.
I think that's like, honestly, half the fun is like that, like, couple months between episodes, because like when you're getting close, the adrenaline rush of like uploading it and like the serotonin
Yeah.
rush is unbeatable. Like, it is such a good feeling. And I love that
Yeah.
so much. I don't think I would be able to get the same kind of like, you know, positive energy if I were to release
Mhm.
everything like in weekly increments or anything. Cause
Mhm.
like, I don't know. It's just like a personal thing for me. I like doing it when they're done. I don't know. That's just my
Oh
personal
yeah.
opinion.
Oh yeah. That leaves me wondering, like, you were 12 years old when you uploaded the first episode,
I
right?
sure was. I was about to turn 13. Yeah, I was 12 though.
Okay. What did it feel like? Like
Oh
when you
goodness.
released the thing, did you just like I mean, you talked about that adrenaline rush, so I assume you were like incredibly hyped, but did you have that moment where it like kind of just sunk in and you're like, "Oh shoot, this is a thing now."
Actually, I don't think I really did. Like, I don't even think I had that much of an adrenaline rush when I was 12, because I've always just been a story creator. And like,
Hmm.
I actually had a comic before TSH, and it was just
Oh,
like,
really?
I would post like comic pages and stuff all the time. And I have like little like stories where I would write like my OCs and stuff and put them on like DeviantArt journals. So like,
Mhm.
in the beginning, this just seemed like another like side story to me. And honestly, I was not writing it to write it to the finish. I was just doing it for fun at that point. Like, I didn't even know if I was going to continue it or not. But I think like the adrenaline rushes and like it all kind of sunk in for me was like after episode 5, I think, because that was the point where I was like,
What?
yeah, episode 5 is when I had my first view spike. Like, that's when I started getting a lot of people coming in. They're like, oh my God, wait, you have like 5 episodes out of your series? That's so cool. And I was like, oh my God, wait, I'm a series creator now.
Well, if you don't mind, like, how many views did the like first few episodes of The Stolen Hope? How
They
much did it
were
get?
before the big spike from episode 5. They were usually all pretty similar with like 300 views, 400 views, and then the
Oh,
algorithm just picked it up. Like, it's just the YouTube algorithm picked it up, and I think I in one day episode 1 got in one day like I got 5,000 views. And as like a small
whoa!
creator, yeah, I was like I was checking YouTube every hour. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And that spike went on I think for 2 months actually. And I think episode 1 went from like 300 views to like 10,000 views in 2 months. Because just something with the algorithm just picked it up, and I still don't know what it is. Like, that just happens to my stuff sometimes. Like the Jerome PMB. I don't know how YouTube picked that up. And it has like 2 million views. I'm like,
Wow.
I don't know what I did. But it just happens sometimes. I will say though, sometimes it works is if you like make tweaks to your like episode titles, because it'll be like a new change and YouTube will like throw it on people's like
Huh.
homepages. So that's a good tip for anyone listening, is if you just tweak your title slightly. So if you have like blah 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 dash episode 1, change it to a colon, and sometimes that will help in terms of views. So
Oh,
that's just
I
my
never knew that.
yeah. I think that actually might have been why I got my first view spike, because I used to title my episodes differently, and then I was like, this is too long, so I just shortened it, and ever since then it just took off.
Wow,
And
that's
I had a couple
interesting.
other view spikes after that too.
Yeah, like when I joined this like whole YouTube anime series community, I had a much better appreciation for like view counts. And like I guess it sounds kind of
Yeah.
strange because like you shouldn't be that number oriented. You should do it because you want to do it. But like us being like casual YouTube watchers, I guess.
I think I disagree with that mentality. I think you have a right to want more views for your stuff because you put so much time into it. Like, I think it's kind of scummy when people are like, you should not be worrying about views. You should be worrying about the fun you have into it. It's like, no, some of us are doing this to like, make money and grow and like have a following.
Oh, yeah.
Like, people have every right in the world to, want views for their stuff because it's like a personal project you poured your whole heart into. Like, of course you want everyone to see it.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I totally get that perspective. I guess
But I also think obviously you should do it for fun because I think if you do it just to worry about numbers, like you're gonna drain yourself. But I digress.
Like they are, I guess, like both of them aren't really stable, but I feel like it is more stable to rely on your passion rather than
definitely.
A view count. Yeah, because like I totally get that whole thing. Like you want exposure for what you've done, you worked hard for it, and you want the world to see it. Yeah, like I guess like the quote on my Instagram, for goodness sake, is like that I think I made is like, I've got so much to share with the world. What matters is if they care to listen. Because like how else is it gonna go out into the world? You have to make people listen sometimes. That's how you get people interested. It's just just like just relying on I feel like you shouldn't really start something just for the views.
Definitely. I that's a hard agree. And that's that actually brings me to another point is I actually think I cared more about views when I was younger. Like when I was doing like the original TSH, like I remember when I was, I think 16 or 17, that's all I was worried about is like numbers. And now it's also not really fair for me to say because, like I'm a quote unquote like bigger creator, but the whole reason I'm doing like the reboot isn't because of the views or like the audience behind it. It's because I've just like, I love the story so much and I just want to share it with people because I think like it would be really inspiring for like younger kids like, hey, like, I did it once, I can do it again, which means you can do it too, I just think want to like get the story out there and show people.
Yeah, and with the audience, I think that's so cool, and it is inspiring for you, like you to spread that message because like anyone can make a story if they put the work into it.
Yeah.
Like I think I heard this in episodes. I'm just gonna restate like what Happy restated from a TED talk she was. So, but like we live in the world now where the ability to make a story is so accessible. You could like just grab your phone and start recording. You could go onto Google Docs and start writing. You could just pick up your phone, get a drawing app, and start drawing. Like every creation is so accessible nowadays that like you can just pick something up and get to work. Like and I think that's why like. I guess that's why like the whole surge in like creativity and this community is just kind of really expansive because like
definitely
everyone just like has a story and it's just bringing their creative sides to life, and the internet and being online and technology allows you to do that better. So
that's why I love this community so much is because I love seeing like everyone's stories and stuff like taking shape and all that. I have a little like I even have like a little playlist I have on my channel where it's like animated series I watch, and it's like everything I've seen. Yes. I'm still adding to it though. Every time I see something new, I always add it to it. So I haven't updated it in a while though. I gotta add some more stuff in.
So like to the people like listening right now, whether you're like I don't know what's the relative age of your audience, but like, heck, if you're 13, if you're 20, if you're 40, for goodness sake, any time is a good time to start. And I guess you could take it from Lem too.
Yeah, definitely. For sure.
It's never too late to start telling a story and get that side of you out. So and people want to see it. Like probably a lot more people than you realize want to see.
I think people don't take that as a fact. Like, I don't think people take that seriously enough. Like, people want to see it. People like it doesn't matter if it's your friends, your family, like other people you don't know. Like people are going to want to see your stuff. So I think that's a huge motivating factor too.
Yeah, there are 8 billion people on this planet Earth, and just like 1% of it is I don't know my math. Is like
don't ask me. I'm terrible at math too.
80,000 8,000. You know, that's still a lot of people. My
Yeah,
math may be
definitely.
completely off the charts, but hopefully you
For
guys know
sure.
what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of like starting stories, I guess we could like just start from like
Oh, the
where it all
beginning.
the beginning. Let's talk about like the pre stuff, like before episode 1 came out. What inspired the idea for the Stolen Hope?
No, I get this question a lot, and I think as time goes on, my brain gets foggier and foggier, but I do
Mhm.
remember, like, the biggest inspiration for me for, like, the original TSH was, Bliximi's The Missing Light, which I
Mhm.
think has been canceled since then, or it's on hiatus. I think it's been canceled.
Mhm.
But I remember, like, as a kid, like, I would come home from school every day and watch it, like, literally every
Wow.
single day. Yeah, I loved it so much, and, you know, I brought this up earlier, like, I've always been, like, a story creator and stuff, so I was like, "Oh my god, I wanna do that." So, I made my own series, and you can even see in, like, some of the earlier episodes, it kinda looks like a TML ripoff, but with cats, especially in terms of, like, you know, like the first episode, like leaving for like to go to a new place, and then like the
Yeah.
whole, you know, like group gathering, or all like the, you know, royal officials are like, hey, you're going to war. But then I think after that, like as soon as I got older, like I would change different aspects of it. But yeah, you could, that was definitely my biggest inspiration.
Mhm.
I think now, oh, something just fell. I think now, my biggest inspiration is definitely music. Because I'm a very, very
Mhm.
like, my imagination is very vivid, and I'm sure everyone else's is. But when I hear like certain
Mhm.
songs, I like create stories that go along with them,
Yes.
and then I'll like, you know, try to like incorporate them into like my own characters, and then I'm like from there, I'll like try to mold them to like fit the plot and like the character arcs I need to hit. So I think
Mhm.
music is definitely a big thing, and also like watching other forms of media, um, like taking like if you see something really cool in a movie, like, oh, I really like how they did like this character arc, or I really like how they did this for like displaying exposition, like I'm like, oh, I need to try that. So I think, and now that's how I get a lot of my inspiration. But when I was younger, it was definitely just like The Missing Light, a little bit of music, and honestly, oh, warrior cats.
Warrior Cats, of course, who could not forget?
The origin for many, many creators.
But yeah, I watched a few episodes of The Missing Light before, and I mean, like, I hope it's not offensive to say that I saw similarities, but like,
Oh
I feel
no,
like
it's they're there, they're glaring.
yeah, I mean, I feel like it happens to like the best of us. Just like
Mhm.
you draw, when you're younger, you draw inspirations from
Mhm.
like things, and you get quote unquote inspired when
Yeah,
you kind of just reskin it,
it happens.
which
Yeah,
yeah, which
it
is a
happens in
difference.
every single series. It's just something that happens, some more than others.
Yeah. Yeah, you may not even, like, realize it, but I guess as long as you recognize that and, like, you eventually kind of, like,
Yeah, as long as you,
use
like, recognize it and
yeah.
grow from it, I think that's
Mm.
fine.
Oh, yeah, because I totally like, relate to that whole thing. Because like, even, like, some aspects of my own series are inspired by things that I've seen before, but,
Mhm.
like
Yeah, as long as you, like,
and
adapt them to make them your own, and that's obviously what
yeah.
I did not do with the first couple episodes of TSH. I'm like, "What if I do this, but with cats?" Which is, you know,
Yeah.
not enough.
Yeah, and it kinda, like, remind me of, like, um, I don't know if you, like, know well, I don't know, that was a bad way to say it, but, like, notice that, different genres within the YouTube space of animated series, um, like, the Wolfpack genre,
Yeah,
and yeah, stuff like that,
yeah. There's not that many, but
like
I still do see pockets of stuff. I
yeah,
feel
and,
like
like
there's like, yeah, now that I think about it, there's like one genre where it's like, you know, elemental wolves, like, you know, like Whitefall, the Shadow Marked, Azure
mhm.
Howl, like all of that. And then there's like, and then there's also royal cats, and it's like
Yes, that's
my
what I was
sector.
going no, that's what I was going to say, like, I feel like there are large influences to why those genres become popular, and I
Oh
feel
yeah,
like this
definitely.
yeah, I feel like The Stolen Hope is one of those factors that I call
Hmm.
it the battle cats genre, um,
Yeah.
they may or may not have elemental powers. They may or may not be fighting in a war.
Yeah.
They may or may not have main characters that are special somehow.
Yeah.
But like, I guess there's nothing I learned like over time. I guess there's nothing really wrong with it. I guess it makes it a bit harder
We're
to
all
stand
kids.
out.
I think
But
we all need to
yeah,
understand, like, we're all kids. Like, kids take inspiration from everything, like, one way or another. And like, I also think that's really cool in a way to like, there's different genres of stuff. Like, that's, good for us. Like look at us go.
yeah. As I like started watching more, I guess like it kind of like just kind of I kind of rolled my eyes at it at first. I was like, "Wow, you guys are unoriginal." I kid, but like also just like it's so interesting though to see how people put their own spin on it because you can't steal from genres. So like
No.
you can't steal mysteries or fantasies. I mean,
Yeah.
you could steal like certain aspects of like that are very specific. Like for instance, if I just had a main character cat and just called it Luna or something, and it just had light, like you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just like
definitely.
reskinning things. That's a different story.
That
But like,
actually reminds
yeah.
me, like one time when I was like, I think 13, somebody approached me and they were like, you're copying my series. And I've never heard of them in my entire life, may I mind you. And I'm like, I was like, oh no, like why are you saying that? And they're like, you have a sibling rivalry and so do I. Therefore you were copying me. And I was like, okay, like I'm sorry about that, but I don't know what you want me to do about that. And like that brings me to another point. Like I think it is
Yeah.
okay for like creators, like, to like if they have issues with something or if they like think you're like, ripping something off, I think they have a right to be like, hey, this kind of makes me uncomfortable, but at the same time, you can't do that with like tropes and stuff. Like if you see a character like,
Yes,
hey,
that's what I
this
was just gonna
character
say.
looks exactly like mine, like you literally used the same colors, that kind of makes me uncomfortable. Versus, hey, sibling rivalry, you can't do that. But at the same time,
Yeah,
it's just like a fine line. It's like, where's the line?
yeah. I was just gonna go into like you also can't steal from tropes and cliches. They're
Yeah, I
called that
know.
for a reason.
I
Like
know.
you don't own them.
Yeah. I remember I think it was like 2 years ago, there was a huge thing going on about like royal necklaces, like the royal necklace shop. Like I had so many people come up to me,
But
they're like, there's a series that uses like magical necklaces like yours. I'm like, I think I was 17. I was like, okay, like what do you want me to do about it? I'm not gonna go up to them and tell them to remove their necklaces. It's a necklace. Like, what do you want me to do about it? I'm just like,
oh my god.
why are you telling me? Like, let them have fun.
But yeah, oh god, that's something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like also saying that like, oh, your a character has blue eyes and mine has blue eyes too.
I
That's
know.
stealing.
Oh my god. Ugh.
Oh boy. But yeah, just tropes and cliches are called that for a reason.
I
They're
know. Same with
you can
archetypes. Like it's just you can't
yeah.
outrun it.
Yeah. And I mean also like just because you have them doesn't make them nearly identical to every story
Yeah,
that has them too.
definitely.
Like the friends to lovers or the enemies to lovers like trope has been shifted in so many ways that I can't even
Mm-hmm.
count. You could do it so many ways. It's just that it
Yeah,
goes under a
definitely.
branch that like it just goes under a simple branch that like oh they were enemies at first, oh now they are lovers, that's it. However that happens is all up to you, and that's what
Yeah.
makes it special. So shut up. so, so do not say but yeah um all right, I guess we could wow that was like a whole tangent.
I told you in advance. I ramble. I go off on
I
tangents.
am completely accepting of that, but yeah, if we can go back and like trail back to
Heck yeah.
like the stolen hope, how long have you had the idea in your head?
Oh gosh. Well, I think I started thinking about something like that when I was 11. And then when I
uh,
was yeah, so how many years? That's 8 years because I'm 19 now. Yeah, eight
oh
years.
boy. Is there any ideas that like you changed before the initial release like
Oh gosh, you just opened a wormhole.
Yes, I love that. Go on.
So I think one of the biggest ones that's like that's an inside joke with like my friends and I is oh, it's so cringy. I'm so sorry to anyone who hears this. But before the curses, um instead of curses, oh no, I was gonna have them be robots. So they got turned into cat robots, and it was a theory called robotology, and it was really, really bad.
Oh my
And I
god.
remember at one point, like Apollo got turned into a robot, and Linus was like, "Oh my goodness, my brother! I have to kill you!" And she just like killed her brother, who was also a robot, and it was just really, really bad. Oh,
No mercy.
no mercy. And then
What?
another horrible one, which I don't even know how the heck I would pull it off. But one it's so bad to think about. I was gonna have Lunas and Aries be the same person. So like Aries would like
What?
disguise himself to like be Lunas and like infiltrate everything. But then I'm like, I can't do that for several reasons.
Wow, stolen hope with shifting.
Yeah,
That's something.
shape-shifting. Yeah, oof. It was rough. Let me think of some other things I changed. I actually just remembered this a couple weeks ago. I totally forgot I had this. This one isn't as funny, but it's just like an actual thing I cut out. In like episode 13, that's the episode where like they escaped like the prison and they were like going back and they had gotten like this huge fight with everyone and
Mhm.
Caroline died and all that. Originally, it was going to be like when they exited the prison cell, they were going to be like in like a gladiator arena and like they're gonna have to fight like other like dark soldiers in front of like a bunch of spectators watching as like a like a
Wow.
kind of sick thing that like Aries was supposed to do. But then I'm like, I don't like that, so I removed it.
Sounds epic, but that sounds dark.
Yeah, it's dark, and I think another reason why I removed it is because I'm like, I don't want to animate all these extra characters.
I completely understand that.
But
That's
yeah,
hilarious.
that was another one. I'm trying to think of what else I changed. Uh, oh, this is a big one. You might like. There's still some art on my like DeviantArt of
Mhm.
this, but originally like Vivian's. Oh, my stomach was growled. Originally Vivian's like whole arc, she was never actually supposed to be a villain. She was only supposed to be another love interest for Apollo, and it was supposed to be like a love triangle between her,
What?
Vesta, and Apollo. And I'm like, that's just
No.
bad. Like you can even see if you it's like if you even go back into episode 3, like you can see like she has like hard eyes at one point. So you can see that they're like I was trying to like set it up kind of, and then like from there on out I just never addressed it again. I was like, no.
Mm. Yeah, probably for the best.
Yeah, that would it's like first off, no. Second off, it's just like ew, weird.
Oh
But
yeah, that.
yeah, I like what I did with her better now instead of that.
Mhm.
I don't
God.
think that's. I mean, obviously, I have smaller stuff that I kind of don't remember. But let me think. Let me think if there's anything else that I changed.
Self
Um.
inserts. We love those.
Oh gosh.
Yes.
I actually. This isn't a self insert, but several extra characters throughout the series are actually my cats, like my pet
Oh,
cats.
that's so cool. I love it
Yeah,
when creators do that.
that I just like drew in there. Like at one point, they even had lines in episode 4 when they were training. It was like one of them was like, "Where are we supposed to go?" And the other one's like, "To head to the ravine. That's where Dusk said the trainees are going." And those were my cats. Fun fact.
Yay! Wow, that yeah, I love it when creators do that. Do you think that? Do you think? Do you think they'll reappear again in the reboot?
I think I do want
Me.
to insert them actually because I think it's a really funny thing just to, like see them pop up.
You do do you accept like extra designs from other people or like
I
fan
actually
characters?
I actually do. The way I do it is if you are a patron, you get to
Ah,
send me references and stuff. But if I have like huge crowd scenes, what I'll do is the patrons will get the extras with dialogue lines so they have like more screen time.
mhm,
And then I'll go to like my Discord server and I'll be like, hey, like send in references. Like I have to do like a big crowd scene. So that way it's
mhm,
still fair that the people who have been paying for like a monthly subscription get more out of it.
mhm.
So Yeah, I usually
Yeah,
just do
that's really
patrons.
cool.
Yep.
Yep, there's only so many designs you could come up with on the spot.
I know.
Yeah, but that sounds so cool.
Thank you.
Um, now let's like make the shift to original to reboot and like
Ooh.
just talk about briefly without spoiling like changes like of what compelled you to change like
Yeah.
the character designs, for example, that I really want to know. Like they were
Yeah,
colorful
so
cats. They're still kind of colorful,
yeah,
but in a different way.
they still got some color. I think a huge reason why I changed the designs is like obviously this is a personal opinion, like no hate to anyone else who does this, but I just thought that my like neon colors were a little bit too like
Mhm.
contrasting and like bad on the eyes. I just thought it was like a little too like juvenile for what I wanted to do as a series.
Mhm.
But like I still think it's cool. I think that Sparkle Cats are the coolest thing ever. But just for like my series and like the tone of the series, it's like the tone was so mature that having like colorful sparkle cats like kind of was like a bad contrast.
Oh yeah, I totally get that.
So I changed the designs to be more realistic, and I like had cat breeds and stuff that like to reference like Aries and Jackson are both Maine Coons. I
Ooh.
originally had them as Norwegian forest cats, but then I was like, no, I like a Maine Coon better.
Mhm.
It's not for every character, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
how I redesigned them. And then like the whole like premise of the reboot, I changed if I don't know how many people are watching this are familiar with the series, but for the original series, it was like Lunas as the protagonist and Aries as the antagonist. And in the
Mhm.
reboot, it's Jackson as the protagonist and Vivian as the antagonist. Because I just think that there was so much more potential to tell like this story through their eyes. Because, you know,
Mhm.
like the children of like a king and just like a regular like runaway soldier. And like I think that just has a lot more like, you know, potential to like
Yeah.
spark other things within the plot too. And just like in other words, like the plot is nothing like the original. It is just so vastly different. I think the only like similarities between everything are the character names and
Mhm.
the overall like location of everything. I think that's basically it. And like some like plot points, like, you know, like siblings, like who they're siblings with. But I even
Mhm.
changed like some family tree stuff too. Like Caroline and Augustus are siblings now.
Mhm.
Who else? I think that might have been it. Oh, obviously like Lydia is the adoptive daughter of Warlock and all that stuff. But yeah,
Mhm.
that's all that. And then like I changed the plot to cater around like the main plot, honestly, is like about ending the curses and like how to end the curses. And
Mhm.
it's like told through like both of their eyes and like what they need to do like in their own perspectives to do so. Um, it's not about like, you know, like Aries trying to take over anymore. Like that is obviously he
Oh
still
yeah.
does, but that's like a subplot. um
This person wants to take over. I don't mind that anymore.
yeah. But I just like I changed like the whole origin story of like why they're going to war, like what the curses are. Like I really, really fleshed out the curses because that was the
Mhm.
definitely the weakest point of the original was the curses had like
Yeah.
no purpose and like the necklaces had no purpose other than to be oh cool, edgy, strong. But the
Yeah.
curses in the reboot are like they're very very fleshed out and they have a lot of lore behind them and I'm actually in the process right now of like writing an entire like series bible just to talk about like the curses, the origins, like how they work, all that stuff. I already had like a small one about it, and like if you're a member of like, you know, the TSH server, like you'll see that I talked about it and posted concept art about
Yeah.
it before, so like all that stuff, all that jazz.
Oh wow, that's so awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, cause like I was wondering how far you were gonna go with this reboot when I watched episode 1,
Oh my gosh, it's so deep.
and then to spoilers, I guess. Should have gave a spoiler warning
It's
long
been
ago,
out
but
for 3
whatever.
months, yeah.
Yeah, but like like I said, I was wondering how far this reboot was gonna go, in terms of like actually like starting over and reworking things out. And Iris dies in the first episode, and I was like,
Oh, yeah.
"Oh, that's a that wasn't there before. Well."
Don't worry, I don't just, like, nerf her and not address it again. She literally is connected to almost everything that happens later on, so
I can't wait to see that then.
yeah, trust me, she will she'll be back.
Yeah, and also with the revised magic system, I personally am compelled more toward hard magic systems, which I guess if you don't know what that term means, it means like magic systems that actually have rules connected to them, and so they're a bit stricter. Like the original curse system, I guess you can consider like a soft magic system where it's just like,
I
oh,
wouldn't even consider it a
pew
system. It's
pew.
just so bad.
It's just like soft magic systems don't really have any rules catered to them. They just kind of like
Yeah.
serve whatever
They're
the
just
plot needs them
cool.
to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I guess in the original it was more like a power up, wee poo poo.
Yeah.
But like yeah, I like that there's like rules connected to them now, and that's just personally what I'm more like compelled
I agree
towards.
with you. Yeah, that way there's like, like when something's gonna
Yeah.
happen or like if something's not gonna happen, like you'll know what like the cause and effect is. And I think
Hmm.
that's like definitely really important and something I learned to do like when I was doing it in like the pre-production phase before I started like, releasing casting calls and doing scripts and everything. I sat
Hmm.
down and I wrote down like the function of like all the curses and like what the warlock does and like all that stuff just to like
Hmm.
keep my lore perfect and like keep it on point so I don't like stray. I think that was definitely something that hurt me when I was doing the original is I did not have a designated like source of like explaining the lore and keeping the lore on track
Hmm.
because like I think a lot of people don't talk about this a lot. Like even though you know your series and you're familiar with it, you will still forget stuff. So I think it's really important to like keep everything written down somewhere as like a resource so you don't like lose your way, which is something that
Oh
I
yeah.
I learned the hard way.
My God, don't tell me you had it all in your head.
I know I actually didn't. Actually didn't. It was just the only thing I had in the original was just like a 12-page plot synopsis and like that was all I had.
Oh
And
boy.
yeah, and that's all I was going off of and it just and I didn't even stick to it. I would deviate so much. Oh god, it was rough.
Well,
But
yeah,
yeah.
well, now it's cool to see that you learned from that. I mean,
Oh, definitely.
I don't know how you outline the Stolen Hope reboot, but like I assume it's like a bit neater now
Yeah,
for
it's
you clear
definitely
to
neither.
understand.
Yeah, what I do now is I do what I do now is a lot different from what I did originally is I write like basically everything that happens out and I do like and I separate it from there into like episode chunks so I know like how many
Mm,
episodes are going to be and like the pacing of each episode and how much happens in each episode. Um, so I do that, and then I will send it to like beta readers to read, and they'll like give me feedback, like,
ooh.
"Oh, this is a plot hole here you didn't catch," or like, "Oh, maybe you should insert this here, and it would like help this character arc." Because, in my opinion, I think stories are a lot stronger when you have like multiple eyes looking at them at
Yes,
once.
yes.
Um,
Yes.
so that's a personal opinion of mine. So like I'll send it to beta readers, so I'll send it back to me, I'll make revisions, I'll send it back to the beta readers one more time for like last minute tweaks I need to do. And then from there I'll have I think my plot synopsis right now is around 30 plus pages of just like
Whoa.
pure like stuff for the episodes. Like that's just for episode synopsis. And then I have a separate document about like the characters, their ages, like what like their pasts. Like I literally every single character in the reboot has like a full fleshed past, future, all that stuff. To like just
Mhm.
like make them more realistic and stuff like what their personalities are. And then like I told you earlier, like I'm making a lore Bible. I already had one, but I'm just like refining it and like making it a lot more straightforward. So I think I'm gonna post it to my Patreon and stuff too, just so like for people to see. But yeah,
Mhm.
like I think the first thing I even did was like write down like the function of the curses and like how they connect and everything. So yeah, I have a document for like episode synopsis. I have a document for characters and like their information. And then I have a document
Mhm.
for like lore and like setting and all that stuff. So
Mhm.
that's how I keep my head screwed on.
Yeah, so and like to the people listening, like one large piece of advice that like I take into heart a lot is like have other people see what you're doing.
Yes, 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 yes.
Please, like you probably would like to think, "Oh, I can do this alone."
Hmm.
Yeah, you
You can
can.
to an extent.
Yeah, it's just like not to your fullest potential that possibly could be because I bet there are people out there that want to like help you and
Oh,
like
uh-huh,
read your
definitely.
own stories, like whether it be online or real life. I don't know how many creators like have a tell-all person that like, oh, I'm telling you everything about my series just for the sake to talk about it. I
Yeah,
feel like everyone should have that, and then like have as many people with that as you want.
yeah,
Have people like read your scripts, have the tell-all person like read your scripts or like talk with them over and try to bounce back ideas. Um, if you want to like, this is not really necessary, but like if you feel like you can't handle all the workload yourself and you don't want the potential of like wanting to cancel the series because you're overwhelmed, get a team. People will work
definitely.
for free.
Yes.
It's insane. Like, I mean, I guess it is not as stable as like paying people to do it, but like you'd be
A lot of
surprised
us
by
aren't
how
in
many
that.
people
Yeah,
would.
we're just like I said earlier, like most of us are kids or like we're really young. Like we don't have the
Mhm.
ability to pay anyone. So,
Yeah.
like you said earlier, just like having people look back on everything for you because like having a fresh set of eyes catches so much that you might have missed because like you're when you're writing your stuff out, like usually you're pretty tunnel visioned on like what your plot is going to do, that you might miss some things in terms of like, oh, this character arc is like inconsistent, like here's how you fix it.
Mhm.
So if you have like friends, acquaintances, whoever you want, like going back and reading everything, I also really recommend getting a sensitivity reader to like go back and like make
Ooh.
sure you're not like having any like harmful tropes or things that could come off as like,
Oh yeah.
tone deaf. I did that this time for my series, just because like I ended up falling into some pretty like bad tropes in the original. And I don't want to do that again. So I'll usually have like, if I have like an LGBT character, I'll have like my LGBT friends read it and read the dialogue and like make sure I'm not doing
Yes.
anything harmful. Because I'm straight and I'm cis, and I can't write an LGBT character without having it like revised because I'm not part of that
Mhm.
like group. So I think
Oh
that's
yes.
something really important that people need to do, just to like make sure you're not doing anything intentionally harmful or unintentionally harmful. And nobody would do anything intentionally harmful. But, in case
Like,
you're doing something, that might come off as like tone deaf or anything, like any of that, it really,
mhm.
really helps. And they also will give like awesome feedback too on like character arcs and stuff too and all that. So I really
Yeah.
recommend that.
Yeah, that brings up like a really good point because I feel like other people's experiences are like some of the best types of knowledge for your series because
Definitely.
it reminds me of this my series personally like deals with like a lot of heavy subjects.
Yeah.
So, if you don't have a person to reach out to, like it sounds really stupid, but like what I'm planning on doing is going on Reddit. I don't
Hmm.
have Reddit, but like heck, it's the whole like ask me anything things and like
Hmm.
people share their experiences freely. So like you could use the internet for your resource. Find like don't I heard this piece of advice that I guess I want to reciprocate. Like don't just for example, I guess I could like anxiety for example. Like
Yeah.
sure you could just research the symptoms of like what anxiety does to your brain or how you, like it's the symptoms. I don't know where else I was going with that, but like also read about other people's lives with it because I think that is
Definitely.
honestly like the most like more humanizing. Like yeah, sure you can get this, you could just get the symptoms, but you can't. Nor I guess like for me personally, just like thinking that like just getting the symptoms isn't going to exactly help making the best fleshed out character it can be.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, so other people's experiences are like your teacher. You could also ask like friends if they're comfortable with it, like
Yeah, definitely.
if
Like
you know
just
they're dealing with those
ask.
mental illnesses or
Yeah.
like Lem said, like LGBTQ people, like what their experiences are like handling that, like living with it or just being that person, I think it'd be really
Yeah.
great asset. And I think it's awesome. Like
Yeah,
heck yeah,
definitely.
representation all around.
Yeah, it's like I also think it's like part of the creator's responsibility to take that extra step and do like extra research, like contact friends, like just all of
Mhm.
that. Cause it's like if you're gonna like do something, like just do some research ahead of time. And that's also something I did not do that well with the original, is I didn't do like any research in terms of like not even and like with like certain things like the tropes that I fell under. It's like just basic stuff too, like anatomy and like how like cats behave, like just doing basic research and like taking the time to like double check everything really does solidify a series like so much.
Hmm. Yeah, I totally agree with that. uh yeah, I guess it just like humanizes characters, and I guess
Definitely.
it
It gives
just
them
gives
another
more in
layer.
depth. I guess like we talked for a good semi-hour about the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk about like the things that maybe like not a lot of people would really know about.
Woo.
So when you announced this, when you announced the Stolen Hope reboot, I was left wondering with a question, and because I watch your videos, surprise. Um, and you did this meme. You did the easy easy meme, and I read like reading the description of videos, and I was like, oh, this is like from my potentially next story called Sayfarer Locals Legacy, and I was like, whoa, what
Ah.
is this? And so when you did the reboot, I was like, oh, what happened to that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I that was oof.
yeah, I was making sure that, like, I wasn't missing anything, so I went to your DeviantArt to see if you, like, did a comic of it. I saw nothing because it's basically inactive,
Yeah,
apparently.
it's dead.
Yeah, so I was, if you want to, like, I would like to know more because also
Yeah.
I did, like, a bit of research and, like, I saw your portfolio, I guess, that said that you like science fiction stories, and that story seemed so much more, like, leaning into science fiction a
Yeah, it
bit.
was pretty heavy
Fantasy
sci-fi.
elements. Yeah, and there were humans, which I don't see a
Yeah.
lot. So yeah, if you could talk about that, I think that I would like appreciate it because I it seemed
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I actually had the whole story like written out and everything, like the plot
Mm.
synopsis. It was still very, very loose. I was not in like the refining stage yet, and like there was a lot of stuff that didn't connect very well, and like a lot of things were inconsistent throughout the plot and stuff. And after the original series was done, I like went back and worked on it, and like I think a huge reason why I decided to not do it is A, because I just lost motivation for it. And I think
Mhm.
the reason I lost motivation for it was because I could not figure out how to wrap up like certain ends that were left
Uh,
untold and all that stuff. I also think another reason why is because the story was just too dark. Like it was just such a dark story, and there was like it was just bad. Like nothing happy ever happened in it, and it
oh
was
my
just
god.
rough. And it was, yeah, it was just not a good time. And I feel like it would just be like too miserable to, excuse me, to
Hopefully.
watch or engage in. And it was just, ugh. I still do
Uh,
love the characters, and I actually still do use the main character like Norman Local. He has two different names. I still
mm.
actually use him for like projects for school and stuff because I'm so attached to him.
Ooh.
I think he's still by far one of my best written villains just because I loved him so much and I spent so much time going into it and everything. But like
Oh yeah.
everything else with character and just like overall like enjoyable, like how enjoyable the plot was. It was just not very good. And I also did not know how I was going to tell the story because I didn't see myself like, you know, animating it again, let alone like do a PV because like that just seemed like a really long time, and I just
I
project for that
think
I never.
local for like one of your art pieces. I remember something I saw on your Instagram that was like him bowing down, entering a throne room. I don't
Yeah,
exactly
that's what I'm
remember.
talking about. Yeah, let
Yeah.
me see if I can grab the link
It
off my
was so
Instagram real
epic
quick.
though. I was like
Thank
wondering, like, oh, I
you.
think I've seen this character.
Yeah, that was my final color theory project that I did,
Oh.
and I actually had to all of those colors in there were taken from my garden.
I don't know, like, if you would ever like release this story, so like I wouldn't mind spoilers or you like talking about that sort of stuff because browsing through your DeviantArt, like local, I think could turn into this like cat like thing, creature thingy majig.
Yeah, he was a character. Let's put it like that. Yeah, like hold on, let me see if I can actually pull up the synopsis in my drive because I'm still super
Okay.
fuzzy on it, and I'll just like skim it and I'll tell you basically
Mhm.
what it was about. I know the big story beats, but um basically the story like just starts off with like some of the things I put on my DeviantArt, it was like local and then like the mad doctor and the doctor it starts off with a story of the doctor getting like exiled from this like group of people because he's like, breaking laws and stuff. And he's like, you will pay. And so that's the prologue pretty much. And then the person who like, started the exile and like introduced the exile was actually Local's father. And so he's like, you know how I'm going to get back at you? I am going to indoctrinate your son into my little science experiment thing. So, which you can actually see, that same trope took place in the Pumped Up Kicks PMV with Maxwell and Romulus. So
yeah.
I used that same trope for that. But yeah, basically he's like, well, I'm going to turn your son into an assassin. Haha, joke's on you. So that's basically what he does, and it's basically because there's like it's like a post-apocalyptic kind of story thing.
Mhm.
So it's like ruined buildings, and people are like fighting amongst themselves in like different groups and stuff because there really isn't any order because it's like post-apocalyptic. So like Local and the Doctor and like pretty much everything else, so everyone else is like part of this big group, and like Local has his friends and stuff like Phoebe and Norman and stuff. If I say stuff one more time. But I couldn't figure out how to get from like point A from point B to here, but like they were all training together, and like for their last like graduation thing, like they all got separated, and apparently two of the people in Local ended up being part of a coup, and they like basically trapped Local and the Doctor in like this building, and like her name was Olga. I just remember that. And that this is part of the easy meme. But Olga ended up killing the Doctor and then like giving Local his eye scar, but he ended up surviving it, and he's like, well, now I'm going to find you and kill you. So the rest of the plot is just Olga, Norman, and Phoebe trying to escape Local pretty much. And that's basically the very, very, very watered down synopsis of Severa. So you can see it's pretty miserable.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, I just looking back on it, I can definitely say I'm like, oh, I'm kind of glad I didn't go through with this because like even the plot, I'm like, ooh, this isn't very good. But I think it has potential, so I don't think I'm gonna fully.
Yeah.
I think I'll go back to it one day and like rework it, maybe for like a school project for like a short or something. But yeah, I don't think
your shorts.
Yeah, my different shorts and stuff. I did a Star Wars one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's on my Instagram. I had to do a little Star Wars short thing, and I had to do 3D animation and 2D animation. That was the first time I ever did 3D animation, and that was an absolute nightmare. So
yeah. Yeah, I wanted to talk about like I mean, no, that's gonna make you feel old. I'm not going to say that, but like
no, say it. I truly don't care.
I guess you are kind of like the older in like this community, I guess, because like you're in college.
Yeah.
I was just not going to say that because oh boy, but like yeah, I was wondering how you like balance like art college with working with the Stolen Hope and stuff like that, and like the techniques you like learned and how you're implementing that into what you're making right now.
Yeah, so I think for my entire life I've always just had a pretty good work ethic. I'm just shamelessly saying I'm patting myself on the back. I have a pretty organized like system of how I do everything, and I think a big reason for that is because I used to swim competitively, and I would have to go to practice for like 6 to 8 hours like every day, like twice, like for like 4-hour practices twice a day. Yeah, so I learned very quickly how to manage my time. I quit since then because I hated it so much. But I think that was a huge like foundation for how I manage my time because I was young when that started. So I think that was important for me to learn pretty early on. And ever since then, I've never had that many issues with time management. I think I also am just a workaholic in general.
Oh no.
So I have to always have stimulation. Like I have to always be doing something or else I'm like, oh my God, I'm not doing anything. This is terrible. So I think that's a huge reason of how I like time so well. Cause like, school, like our college is pretty difficult sometimes because it's not like when you have homework, like, when you have like math homework, you're like, okay, this will usually take me like an hour to do because it's like this many problems. That is not art school because you have projects, like art projects you have to do. And you don't know how long they're going to take. You don't know how complex they're going to be or how many like revisions you need to make when you get your critiques and stuff. So I would, I think fall quarter of my freshman year was the worst for homework. I would be up until 3 a.m. every single night doing homework. And I would start class 8 a.m. and be up until 3 doing homework. Like it was really, really rough. But
Oh,
I was able to still work on TSA even then. But yeah, it was pretty rough then. Ever since then, I've been pretty good with managing my time. I think, oh, no wonder I was up till 3 a.m. I also had a job my fall quarter. So I would like after classes, I would immediately go to work and then I would come home and do my homework till really late at night. So I was pretty burnt out for a while. But
yeah,
then
that
when I,
makes sense.
yeah, then when I came down to my university, I did not have a job my winter or spring quarter, so that really, really opened up a lot of time for me.
Mhm.
But I would still like have a ton of homework and stuff, so that time would just fill up doing homework. So I usually try to schedule my classes so they're like kind of in the morning. Like I'm really not a morning person. I love sleeping in, but I have no problem getting up for like an 11 a.m. class or like a 12 p.m. class and like drive over there or anything. So I try to schedule my classes like pretty like early in the afternoon, late in the morning, so I can get them all done out of the way, and that way I'll be up, and for the rest of the day I can do my homework because I know a lot of like other creators like this too. I am most productive at night, so I will usually do all my homework during the day, and then like late at night I will work on my show because that's when I'm like most creative. I'm gonna like I've been looking forward to it all day. I'll usually have ideas in my head from earlier in the day and all that. So that's what I did for the rest of my freshman year. And then I went back home for the summer to my home state. I had my job then, and I I just cranked through episode 2 because I mean, I would only work. I think I only worked part time. Like I would never work more than like 25 hours a week, which I was a little bummed about because I wanted some more money. But I was only like my job is I'm just a receptionist, and I just only come in when the clients are in.
Mhm.
So that was that. So that's a huge reason why I was able to get episode done so quickly is because I had so
Mhm.
much free time. But now that I'm back on campus, I just moved into my new apartment. It's going to be interesting to see how I balance my time now because all of my classes are in person. And I think that's also a reason why I had so much free time last year. It's because my
Yeah.
classes were virtual and I didn't have to worry about getting the bus or driving to class. But now that I'm down here, my classes are all in person and I have to drive there and like figure out parking. And I also have an apartment where I need to feed myself now because I can't just go down to the dining hall and get food. So that's going to be an adjustment. And also, I'm trying to look for a job. So I
Mhm.
think my time is going to be cut short again, which isn't a huge deal because like I got episode 2 done so much faster than I anticipated. So I'm really not bugged by it because I'm like my
Mhm.
smooth progress will still be the same. Um, but yeah, I guess I'm just gonna see how I manage my time this year. I don't think it'll be an issue at all because like another thing that I did that really really helped me last quarter is before I get into that, I think a huge reason why I continue the series is because it like weirdly enough it really helps my mental health. Like it keeps me
Ah,
like it's something that keeps me engaged and it's like something I can be proud of. It's something I have control over. So what I would do is I would make sure I would designate every Sunday as like I would call it my personal care day. And I would make sure I would only work on the episode during that day and I would do nothing else. I'd like stay in my room, light some candles, like put on some music, and I would just work on everything all day. And that would be like my recovery day. So like if I didn't work on it like during the week for some days, it would be fine because I could just work on it on Sunday. But I would always make sure I got my homework done for the weekend, like on Friday or Saturday, and then Sunday I would have my day to just work on anything I wanted. So that was a huge
yeah.
reason why I kept like smooth progress during my freshman year.
Ah, that's awesome.
Thank
I
you.
mean, that does seem like a lot of work, and I about the workaholic thing, I like totally relate on a level because like around the summer, workaholic tendencies have really just like shot up the roof. Um, even though it's hard, I guess it's harder for me personally, like to keep. If I say personally one more time, I'm going to slap myself. But yeah, for me, it's like really hard to be motivated, especially like since I'm first working and starting stuff out. It's just you got a lot more to figure out when you're first
hmm
beginning things.
Yeah,
So that's like
definitely.
yeah, and I've
It's
never been
definitely a
the
learning curve at 1st.
mhm. Yeah, I've never been the type of person to like be able to churn out work like 10 hours in a day.
hmm
That's just not realistic of me, but, like, everyone has their own limits, and I'm glad that working on your series is, like, your own personal care, but also like
Yeah, I definitely know how
workaholism's
it's
bad.
Yeah, it's not the same for everyone, but for me personally, I think that's why I'm so like connected to the reboot too, because it's like, and going back to our conversation earlier in terms of like views and stuff. I do it because like I want to share the story, but I also do it because it's like my own care. Like I do it
Yeah.
for me because I like it and it helps my mental health and I love doing it. So that's a huge reason.
Yeah, that's good. I don't think you should be doing your series if it just hurts you more.
Oh,
Because
definitely.
I don't think
If
it's
you're
worth getting
miserable
a product
doing
at the
it and
point.
like you're not finding any enjoyment, like just don't. Like you're making yourself upset. Like just take care
Yeah.
of yourself.
Yeah, you don't have to cancel it, but like just give yourself a break, please.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
force yourself to put on a hiatus. Don't like
Mm-hmm.
working on the depressive autopilot is not fun. Like I don't think anyone should do that. Like burnout is a terrible thing to manage and you just
Definitely.
try preventing it before it like happens.
Yeah.
I just mental health is important, guys. End of story. um but if you don't mind saying like why did you decide to like take is it a university?
Yes, I go to the
Yeah.
Savannah College of Art and Design in Savannah,
Mhm.
Georgia. It is a art school in the United States, and the reason I went here is because their animation program is really good.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's why I was going between several universities my senior year when I was applying for everything, but this one took the cake because of the scholarship I got. So that's why I'm here.
Ooh. Yay.
Thank you.
Uh, so with that, I'm assuming that you want to try going professional
Oh,
somehow?
definitely. That is my goal, actually. Um, it's so weird, like since I've been here and I've been like introduced to like the animation pipeline, like my major is 2D animation. But
Mhm.
since I've been here, I've realized it's not like I think this also is a huge thing for just like people in general in the series community. Because it's
Mhm.
not the animation we like, it's the story we like. It's like telling the story and like the bare bones of
Mhm.
it. Like for me personally, my favorite part of production of episodes is storyboarding because I love like
Oh,
lining everything
really?
up. Yeah, I love like laying everything out, figuring out the setting, like landmarks and stuff. And I realized that my animation class, my freshman year, I was like, I don't want to be an animator. I want to be a storyboard artist and like a concept artist and like a
Ah.
pre-production artist. So that's what my major is centered toward. It's like 2D animation with a concentration in storyboarding because I just love like the whole story aspect and like
Mhm.
how like an image tells a story pretty much instead of like, you know, the actual like I still do love the actual animation part and I would be
Mhm.
totally fine doing that as another job too, but I just love story and like the storyboarding is so fun to me. So
Mhm.
I actually got my first big girl storyboarding job this year. I start working
Ooh!
in October.
Ah, that sounds exciting, and that is so interesting to me because I know many creators Trinkle, um, just calling her out that, like, some creators just really don't like storyboarding. I think it's their least
Oh, I'm
favorite
the
part.
opposite. It's my favorite
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, because like, I mean, storyboarding is really important because
Yeah, it's
especially if you're, like,
essential.
just yeah, especially if you're doing it for yourself, you could just try, like it's a I mean, most creators are just working for themselves, so, like, it's just to get the idea down and, like, how you
Hmm.
want it to look, and it's
Yeah,
very rough, you don't put much effort in it, but enough for you to be able to, like,
yeah.
convey I guess maybe with, like, working in an art team, that's a different story.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, it's much
yeah.
different than I'll get into that later if you want me to, but like if
I
it's a personal
yeah.
thing, it's different.
Yeah, because, for me, storyboarding, my episode 1 was just a circle and a rectangle and a few lines. It was just and then during
That's how mine used
storyboarding
to be.
yeah. And then during storyboarding, you mess around with perspectives and stuff, and then you realize when you get to the actual thing, especially if you're, like, semi not that experienced like me, you're just like, "Oh, I don't actually know how to do this."
Yeah, definitely. I think
Mhm.
that's, like, people don't realize too is, like this is for indie people, like, honestly, don't take storyboarding that seriously. Like, it's just your show. Make it look how you want. It's not that serious, I promise. But since I'm trying to do it professionally and like I plan on putting some of my stuff in my portfolio for when I apply for like, big girl jobs, I try to for storyboarding and stuff, like one of the biggest things, especially if you're on an art team, is you have to make sure they're legible and like other people will be able to understand them. I can send you an example of one of these.
Oh, yeah, please.
But that's a hard lesson I had to learn actually, because I did not realize that. And I think that's like something that, like, people kind of just do it themselves. You're like, oh, I'm just gonna do like a little scribble, just like keep my thoughts like, normal and all
Mhm.
that stuff. But then like if you're doing it with a team and they can't like understand like what's going on,
Yeah.
it causes some confusion. Um, but here, I just sent it. But yeah, I think a reason why I love
Ooh.
storyboarding so much is I love like lining everything up and like doing perspectives, because there's so many like
Mhm.
different meanings behind like how a camera moves across the screen, and like different
Ah,
like meanings between like how characters interact with each other, how close they are to each other, their expressions, like how the camera shows like them walking. Like, for example, like if a character is fighting another character, like if they're just standing right next to each other, like you can still tell they're fighting. But if you have like a higher angle, like showing them above, like a more dynamic, like vertical angle, it like kind of, so because like vertical angles symbolize like, aggression and
yeah.
like conflict and stuff. So if you just like tilt it slightly, like you'll symbolize like the conflict in that scene a little bit better, which is something I love, like all like the little niche details like that. Eat them
Ah,
up.
yes. Camera perspectives. That's like it's honestly like an underrated, but also like a kind of important point, especially
Yeah.
like even without animation, like filmmaking, for example, they do all these like little techniques to show. I think there's this like technique with the camera that I completely forgot the name of, where it like tilts or something, and like
Yeah,
it's supposed to
definitely.
signify something, the Dutch cut or something. I don't.
Oh, yep, I think that's what it is.
Yeah, and it like it's almost like it's almost like a trope within like actually filming instead of the story itself. I'm trying to find out what it is, if it's actually called the Dutch. I could
Yeah,
be
I
very
learned so
wrong.
many different terminology, like so much terminology and like different words for like different storyboard shots, and like what like a establishing shot, a wide angle shot,
Mhm.
like all that stuff. So
The
I
Dutch angle.
yeah, the
Alright, there
Dutch
you
angle.
go.
But I think it's actually really cool because like I learned all that in my animation class, my freshman year, and I think there's like a very noticeable difference between like all the shot
Mhm.
composition for episode 1 versus episode 2, which I'm really excited to like
Ooh.
showcase, because
Yeah.
there's a fight scene in episode 2 and I was like going crazy with the different angles and the cuts and stuff and like all that. So I can't wait to
Yeah.
show that off.
I feel like it is a bit harder in animation because you actually have to draw from that perspective rather
Oh
than just
yeah,
like having a camera and just fitting it
definitely.
to what's necessary. But like,
Definitely.
yeah, just seeing like different how the because like if you imagine just when you watch like an animation that the animation is like real life and then the camera is just like being like an actual camera as it would be in filmmaking, it's kind of
Definitely.
still like the same idea. It's just maybe a bit harder to portray since you're actually like drawing it. But having that many variety of shots is so interesting rather just having like parallel shot, another
Yeah,
parallel shot.
definitely. I remember like this is really kind of sad. It scarred me really bad. But I remember when I was visiting my university, I actually like, because they had professors like standing around. I was like, hey, can I show you some of my stuff? And like, can you give me a critique? And apparently, this professor was notorious for giving harsh critiques. And he was like,
Oh,
are you sure about that? And he had students in his class, and they're like, don't do it, don't do it. And I was like, yeah, can you just give me a critique? Like, I'd be one of your students. So I showed him one of my short films, and he's like, first of all, this does not even look like a puma. And I'm like,
oh my
okay.
god.
And second of all, this stuck with me. I'm so glad he told me this though, because it just stuck with me forever, and it's been in the back of my mind ever since. But he's like, you only rely on shots where it's like horizontal or vertical. You don't do anything else with your like shot composition or anything. It's just like the
Yeah.
character is sitting horizontal on screen or right towards the camera. And I didn't even notice that until I went back and looked at all my stuff. I was like, oh man, I really do that. So ever since then, I've been trying to cut that habit significantly.
Yeah, I mean, as long as that critique wasn't delivered in like a
No,
bullying
no,
way, like,
he
"Oh,
did it
this is
like appropriately. Like, no, yeah, he did it
yeah."
appropriately, but he really tore in. And I was like shocked. I mean, like I handle critique pretty well. Like I love it when my stuff is critiqued because I love like hearing ways that I can improve. Like,
Mm.
don't get me wrong, it still stings sometimes, especially when you're
Oh,
really bad
yeah.
about something. But I think criticism is very, very essential for like
Mhm.
improving and like getting better at stuff. But I also think it's okay to like not want criticism for certain things too, especially if you're doing it
Yeah.
for fun. Like you don't I really hate when people like just give, you know, unwanted criticism for like a piece you did
Yes!
for fun. Like nobody
I was about
asked
to
you.
say.
Just
Um,
etiquette, like courtesy.
etiquette, that's the word.
Yeah.
Art artist etiquette is, like, one of the things. It's like, don't give criticism if the
Yeah.
person didn't ask.
Yeah.
Like, let them be proud.
Yeah, definitely. I
But yeah.
agree.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I also think like, yeah, definitely. And like if the person's like asked for criticism, like go ahead, give them criticism, but make sure you do it nicely and don't insult your
Yeah.
critique as like or don't insult your disguise your insult as a critique. I've had that so many times, like especially for like
Yeah.
the comments on like episode 1 and 2. Like they tried to like cover
Oh,
up their insult like as a critique. Like at one point, someone was like, this is just terrible. And I was like, well, that was rude. And they're like, it was a critique. I'm like, it was not a critique. A critique tells you how to improve and what to improve, and this was not a
yeah.
critique.
That was just like or that was just an opinion,
Yeah, that's just your
honestly.
opinion, dude.
Yeah, but, like, even, like, if a person is trying to just do critique, like, you're gonna have to go more in depth than, like, saying that, "Oh, I don't like this," but, like, "Why don't you like this?"
Definitely. Yeah. Say why and like offer ways to improve. Like be like, oh, look at this reference for like, how to because
Yeah.
I I think everyone's in the same boat. I struggle so much with drawing back legs on like cats and dogs. I need to look at reference constantly. So I think like just
Mhm.
providing like reference and stuff like, oh, like here's how you do it. Like sometimes what my friends and I even do if we need to critique something is we will actually like redline each other's art. So what you do is you like draw over it of like where the joints would supposed to be and like all that so like they can figure it
Mhm.
out in like terms of like where their stuff is compared to where it's supposed to be. So I think that actually really helps too.
You voice act, don't you?
I used to actually. I don't do it anymore, but
Ah.
I used to when I was like obviously like 12 to I think I stopped. Yeah, the last role I ever had was Lunas in TSH. I
Ah.
think the last time I ever auditioned for anything was 2015. Just cuz
Wow,
like
okay.
yeah, just cuz like I can't act. I
Oh.
can't act very
Oh.
well and like I think a huge reason was like my crew or like the original TSH was so freaking talented. And then there was like me who voiced Lunas, and I
Aw.
was like, yeah, we need to get back to the border. And everyone was like so full of emotion, and my lines always were so flat. And I'm like, yep,
Aw.
I probably shouldn't do this anymore.
Oh,
No, no, it wasn't a
no!
bad thing. Like, it's just, it wasn't like I was, so sad I didn't want to do it. It just like, also, I just really couldn't keep up with like turning in lines because
Ah.
um I still live with like my whole family and I couldn't just like yell or scream like
Oh.
whenever I wanted. So I just it wasn't fair to other people that I was always like
Mhm.
one of the last people to turn in lines because I just could never get a time like to myself. So I was like, yeah, I probably shouldn't do this anymore.
I mean, does the thought entertain you of, like, going back to it, or are you just like,
No,
"Eh,
not really. It's just not my thing. I
ah,
mean,
okay."
it's just like I've never like done really much acting or anything previously to it, and just
Mm.
and like I liked it, but it was never something I like really loved. And I really admire people who like have such a passion for it. I'm like, yes, you go, you read those lines because it's so cool. Because so many people are like so talented and like bring these characters to life, and I was just like, I always just did it like on the side as just like extra stuff, and I just never. I don't think I took it as seriously as I should have, honestly. But I just, yeah, I just, I don't think I'll ever do it again. I think I'll like the most I'll do is if like my friend or something like needs an extra for their series, I'll be like, yeah, let me
Mhm.
whip out my microphone real quick because I actually do have a Blue Yeti microphone still from when I used to
Cool.
voice act. Yeah, but yeah, I don't think I'll ever do it again just because like all the reasons I listed before.
Mhm. it's interesting how like that you're actually kind of indifferent to it. There's a lot of people on the spot that are like, voice acting, woohoo!
Yeah, that's why I was like, like super cool to see people who are super passionate about it. Like that's just not me. Like it's just kind of, I don't think I'd ever be able to do it again.
Well, yeah, everyone has their different passions and
Yeah.
interests, and heck, you're an art university for all we know. So, like, yeah, well, yeah, it depends per person. Like, we kind of, I mean, it crosses over, but we kind of each have our own roles in this whole space. Like, not everyone is a creator, but lots of people are voice actors, or like,
hmm
not everyone's a voice actor. Lots of people are creators, or you just transcend into both, like me. Or you just haunt your entire life with a podcast, but like,
Yeah, definitely. I wonder who that is.
yeah, I would go figure. No, but like, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing like if I didn't enjoy it, if I felt forced to do it whatsoever. I know like my limits. I know when I'm like, oh, I know when I be like, oh, I don't really want to do this anymore. But thank goodness that hasn't really happened at all. I just
Yeah.
I do it when I'm doing. I guess there's one more topic I want to go into before we get into all of these questions. Oh boy. um, you've been a YouTube creator for years.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. Do you like mind talking about like some notable things you just remember from like years back, just special experiences, just like and the lessons you
Oh,
learned, like
gosh.
all of that?
I have literally sat back and watched this community transform like double-digit times. Like it's not even funny. I mean, even before I had like a account and stuff, I was on YouTube since I was about 7 or 8 years old. Like I was there when like the early like Warrior Cats and like Alley Cat, yeah, like all that stuff. Like
Oh
I was
wow.
around for that. So that just puts into perspective everything that I've been through when the only AMBs were like horrible quality, like Scourge, like Google
Yeah.
Images sliding across the screen. Like that was my upbringing.
Oh wow,
um
that's awesome though.
yeah, it was really cool to see. And it's still very nostalgic. But yeah, I think I'm trying to think of some crazy stuff. I remember I posted about this on my Twitter. There actually used to be like an award show for animated series communities called like the Sonar Awards. And like
What?
it used to be like a Google forum thing where you could like submit like series as you liked and like best new voice actor for this year, and it would be like all the voice actors like best new male protagonist, best female protagonist, best side character, like best exposition or something. And like it was a huge thing, and then it just stopped, and I don't know what happened to it.
Sonar Awards?
Yeah, they took the videos down. I was like looking for them and I can't find them anymore.
Really? Oh,
The
I
most
was
I
just
can
searching it
the
up.
most I can find is like auditions to be a Sonar Award narrator, and that's like it. Like that is the extent, because I know the original creator. I think they might have deleted their YouTube or something, but yeah, it was really cool. And of course, like the year they stopped doing it was the year when I released TSH, and I was like, they never did it, and I was like,
Oh my, that sounds like a big thing though. I feel like that should be a thing. Well, I could see why that. Okay, I could see like a bit downsides to that because like it creates like competition of like who's the
yeah, I think that
best.
might have been a reason why it was ended, because it was kind of creating some beef.
Yeah, I mean like it's like one of those things that like people would take really seriously.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. And like they would
yeah,
probably take it personally if like they didn't get like nominated or even entered in something. And I feel like it would not
yeah,
be able to be done like today, because also you need someone who's unbiased. Like they can't have their own series and then host it, or they can't be like good
yeah.
friends with people, because like you're clearly gonna have bias with it. So
Mhm.
I think it might be better that it's not around anymore. But I do remember that was a really cool thing, and I was like super invested in it
Yeah.
when it would come out every year. But
Yeah, that concept seems cool, but I feel like the
it's
way
just not
people would react to
feasible
that.
for this kind of community.
Yeah, also I feel like mostly the professionals will win anyway.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, it's like it's that's why I didn't like it either, because it just seemed like a popularity kind of contest. And it like
Uh,
gave like I don't know what the grounds of judging were. Like how did they judge who won and who didn't? You know?
That's all awards shows anyway. And if you're voting off a Google form, that's like it's like the
Yeah.
whole. It's like prom queen or something.
I know. That's why, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah,
But
I agree with you 1,000%. But it was cool when you were little and you were watching everything and you didn't really understand what was going on at any given moment. But
yeah,
but yeah.
I would like to. I would have loved to see that in action, though. It would have been curious. But I wasn't
If
really
anyone
involved in the
listening to
space.
this has a record of it, please give it to me. I need it so
Please,
bad.
I want to know it too. um, yeah, throughout like your entire like years here, what about like the people you've met or like
Oh my goodness.
how much you've
I've
seen develop?
yeah, I think this is gonna be kind of sad, but I have seriously like had so many friends like come and go, not for like bad reasons, like we got into a fight or
Mhm.
anything, just because like they've just decided to do different things. Like they decide like, oh, I
Ah,
kind of
yeah.
don't want to like be an animator anymore, and they like
Oh
pursue a
yeah.
different path. Like I still keep in touch with them, but they like aren't part of the community anymore, and they just like want to do different things. And since I've been around for almost 7 years, like that's just kind of a reality you have to accept.
Hmm.
Like you're not going to be able to have like the same friends forever. Like everyone, like especially when you like enter college and like after college graduation, when you're like an adult and you're like doing all your like your personal stuff, like a lot of those relationships are probably going to like change drastically. And I think that
Hmm.
happened a lot for me like this year too, in terms of like my other friends that went to school and like all the time before that. And it's just like it's like sometimes people will just like straight up fall off the face of the earth. Like for example,
Oof.
Neon Wolf artist, like creator of like Bloodlines and stuff. The whole reason
Oh.
she's inactive is because she's in nursing school right now, and I still keep in touch with her sometimes.
Whoa, really?
Yeah,
Huh.
so that's why she hasn't been able to do much. But yeah, because I know that she's super busy and stuff. So yeah, that's just
That
like a reality that happens a lot. And I've also just like circled through different friend groups for that reason too, is because like a lot of people just decide to like pursue different stuff. And it's just kind of like, it's a sad reality, but it is what it is.
Yeah, that's so interesting though. I mean, like, yes, it's bound that people come and go, but it's interesting. I feel like it'd be interesting to see how it all develops over time and compare to
Yeah.
like what it was like before to what it is now. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know, was it
definitely.
as famous or was it as popular? Was the community as popular as it was like 7 years ago? Probably not,
Yeah,
but
definitely. Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
It
was
was
it
just like,
mainly children?
yep. I mean, I think another reason why I say yeah is because I was also a child, so I was interacting with like other kids. But I know there were some like adults and stuff in the community too, but I think the majority of us were kids. And now it's like, especially for like series creators and like I hate to use the term, but veteran series creators, like people who've had their shows for a while, like they're almost all, if not all, adults now. And like they
Mhm.
have, like huge responsibilities now, like on top of their stuff. And that's, I think, really cool to see like unfold. I think it's really, really cool to see people's lives unfold. Like, especially like not even like in the series community, but just like in general, like the animation community, like seeing people land their dream jobs and like getting
Mhm.
married and like having kids and like starting like that's just so freaking wild and
Wow.
cool. Like it's really something to see.
I wow, I feel like I would just be going through a crisis seeing all that change.
I think the reason I'm not is because I'm still in school. I think the moment that one of my like close friends tells me that they are married is the moment I have a crisis.
Oh.
But yeah, that's just how it is.
Oh my gosh, now I'm just thinking about like if I would be considered a veteran in like 10 years. Oh.
Oh, you will.
Oh boy.
That's another thing. It's so weird seeing like these pockets of like different like eras. And I don't know if I should
Mhm.
say eras or like phases of the community. Like there's literally different phases of like series production. Like there's one phase where it's like the super old series, and there's another phase of like other series that came out, and there's like a couple years break, and there's another phase, and it's like super wild to see.
I mean, like, and even with the smaller creators too, like, I guess the more smaller creators you recognize, the more it seems like widespread. Because,
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
a lot of the bigger series with the millions of views, they're very well animated. You could almost say it's like professional quality. And
Yeah, some of them are like actually backed by like, production companies and stuff, which is why
yeah.
they look so good, but like also some of them have like genuine teams and like all that
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how many people are working on it. Like, it could be months, it could be upon months, or it could be like years. So if you
Hmm.
only know the big creators, it may feel like, I have to wait forever. But like,
Yeah, definitely.
it's so, it's like an ice, it's like an iceberg. Like, you have like the ones
It
that broke
really
like getting
is.
like 1 million views, and then like the further you go down, the more you realize how big this community actually is.
Oh
I love
yeah,
that.
it's huge. Like people don't realize how big it is and just how far it goes, but like oh my God, like anyone else who's watching, who's like listening to this, go watch some smaller series because they are seriously
Yes,
so good
please.
and deserve recognition. Like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, this is kind of a personal hot take I have, but there are some smaller series, series that I think have a significantly stronger story than like a lot of popular series. To Poeth, Trinkle.
Yeah, like not to just shamelessly
There's
self
like
promo again, just like hey, if you want to see more Solid Critters, check out the episodes of the
please
pod.
listen to previous podcasts. I found so many really, really good series through these podcasts. And
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, I
That's
really
just what I
think
want.
that people should go back and listen and give everyone a chance because you will be so surprised. I have yet to come across a bad series. Like they're all just so good.
Yeah, and it's also like unique too. Like I said before, like the genres and stuff, everyone twists them to their own liking. Like EMAO DDC, I'm gonna bring this up. Sorry, Happy, if you're listening. But like, I've never seen a mystery show that focuses on rodents, and it was one of the
Yeah.
like you don't see mystery in that. You usually see like fantasy, action, adventure, all that good stuff. But then you have like hidden gems like that where this. I mean, Happy cringes at the first episode, and like she did this whole retrospective on how Case One could be better. But like, of course, I'm not gonna spoil anything. Just watch it for yourself,
Oh
please. It's
yes,
like one of those
definitely.
hidden gems. And then like what Lem mentioned before, Towpath, like Frank hates the first episode, but
I
watch
could
it
spend
too,
like,
please.
oh my gosh, it's so good. I could spend like 4 hours just like talking about like all these little series in the community and how good they are. Like I
Mhm.
said earlier, I have a playlist on my channel of all the ones I watch. I gotta update it again. I'll probably do
Yeah,
that after the podcast is done. But
yeah.
oh my God, so good.
Yeah, check out like other creators like playlists. Like I call the anime series playlist like anime series binge watch. Like if you're in the mood, go through there's the first episodes of like the series I've encountered so far. Like everything I encounter, I try putting in there. And like just see what you like and just
Definitely.
delve deeper into it because I bet the series have a lot more episodes that you could just like watch continuously.
Yeah, I actually do that sometimes. Like when I'm working on stuff, I'll just like put on a series and I'll just like watch it while I'm doing stuff. Because honestly, I think it's like more entertaining like watching like actual like television sometimes. Because I feel like there's so much more heart into like indie series, and I
Oh
could like just
yeah.
like you can like feel it coming through the screen almost.
Yeah, because I mean, I think the point, like a point I mentioned before, is like we're not doing this for the money. Nobody's getting
Yeah,
paid, and
yeah,
that's the beauty of it. You're doing it out of your own hard work and your dedication and passion. You do it because you want to, and
definitely.
I feel like there's totally a higher reward than like um companies that will churn out series for
Yeah,
money.
definitely.
So yeah,
I
but yeah.
agree.
Please check out smaller creators. They deserve so much
Please,
attention,
everybody
please.
comes from somewhere. You gotta give everyone a chance for sure.
Yeah. Like a cliff is crystal clear. But yeah. Just we got a lot of talent in our hands. A
Oh,
lot of
for sure.
stories. Yeah, and they're never ending. So yes, if you have time, please. um let's move on to questions now, shall we? It's been like 2 hours.
Woo! Oh my goodness, that went by so fast.
I know, right? Question number one from Dan Deceiver. What was the process when it came to rebooting a Stolen Hope that you think was necessary for change?
We kind of went into this a little bit earlier, but I'll definitely talk about it a little bit more in depth. I definitely needed to rework like the lore and stuff and like how certain events like connected to each other and why they connected to each other. I think like
Mhm.
going back and like having a definitive reason for everything really helps solidify like the reboot. I
Mhm.
just thought like rewriting it in general, like from a blank slate, was definitely necessary. Um, so yeah, definitely like all that and like um the plot synopsis, the character sheet, and the lore document, all that fun stuff
Mhm.
was definitely necessary. And not only that, but in terms of like my production pipeline, I changed a lot too. Like I have a team of people. I have storyboard artists, I have background artists, I have colorists, and I have shaders. And I think there's about 4 to 8 people for each designated position. And
Wow.
what I usually do, and this has been helping me a lot, is I actually write the script for the next episode while I'm about like 75% done with the one previous. So like when I'm 75% done with like
Mhm.
episode 1, I'll start writing episode 2 script. And then when I'm done with that, I send it to my beta readers. They read everything, they greenlight it. I will send it to voice actors and I'll be like, hey, here's the due date for line. So that way they have some buffer between like the last episode and this one. But that way I can also send the script, like sections of the script. I usually only send like sections at a time to my storyboard artists, and I will give them concept art,
Mhm.
what the setting is, important information. And I'll be like, okay, here's these like 5 different storyboard sections. You guys can pick and choose which ones you guys want to do, if you want to collaborate, all that. And I will give them a due date. So that way I will have the script out to the voice actors and the script out to the storyboard artists while I am still working on episode 1, so that they have a buffer to get started on it while I'm still finishing up the episode. That way I don't have to have like that weird awkward waiting period between like episodes. Um, so then they do that. The episode's done. I will fill in the blanks of my storyboards between everything. And then I will do audio editing and all that. Oh my God, I hate audio editing so much. It's
Oh,
definitely my
really?
least favorite part. Oh my God, I hate it so much. I just I've never been good at it and it's so rough, but I just truck through it. But then when I'm done with audio editing, I usually, the way I work is I work from the most difficult scene to the easiest scene. When I say most difficult, I usually mean lengthwise, how many assets there will be, how many storyboards are in the scene, and all of that. So I'll usually work from like the longest scene to the shortest scene, pretty much. Um,
Mhm.
and the way I will calculate like how long the scene is in like retrospect to the episode as a whole, what I do is I convert the time of the scene. So let's say a scene is like 4 minutes and 54 seconds. So I'll convert all of that to seconds. So in seconds, that would be 294 seconds. I did that on my calculator. Don't think I did that in my head. um, but then let's say the episode as a whole is around like 19 minutes long. So 19 minutes in seconds is 1,140 seconds. So then, like, I think the number was like 294 divided by whatever that number was will give me how, like, the percentage of like what the episode is. So it's like about like 25% of the episode is that scene. So then I'll be like, oh, let's see what the highest percentage is for like which scene. And I'll be like, oh, scene 2 is like, for episode 2, I think scene 2 was like 40% of the episode. So like, okay, I'll work on scene 2 first. And then I'll just keep going down, down, down. Because usually by the time like when I start edging closer to the completion of an episode, I get pretty antsy. So I
Uh,
usually want to have the least amount of work for the scene last, so I can just like, do it fast and relax pretty much. So
mhm.
that's my personal method of doing everything.
Wow, that was a lot to absorb, but I'll definitely take the advice. Seems really efficient. And
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's very smooth and streamlined.
yeah, I'll definitely take that into account. I'll just probably, I mean, the hardest thing to do for me so far in this like upcoming episode just involves like cars, and I really hate drawing the inside of cars. So that's my definition of hard. So I guess it doesn't really
Yeah.
translate to longest. So
No,
like
no, no,
it's
I get
honestly
it.
just me with motivation. That's my issue.
Yeah, I don't, because when I'm doing episode 3, there's one point where it's the interior of the castle, like the medic den, and there's
Oh,
like
that sounds like pain.
yeah, so there's like shelves, benches, books, cauldrons, cups, all these things. So that's not the longest scene in the episode, but by my standards, it is the hardest. So I'm going to be doing that one first, just because I know I'm going to have absolutely no motivation to do any of that. Because that way, when I get out of the way, I can like take a breath of fresh air and be like, okay, the hardest part's done.
Yeah.
Now I can just work on the rest.
Yeah, for me, I'm just stalling, but don't follow me, kids. Also, the thing with audio editing, I find that also really interesting because I personally like love audio editing.
Oh,
The
I'm
only
so jealous of you.
yeah, the only negative thing about it is like listening to the voice actors like read your lines out and act those lines, and you just have a little cringe moment to yourself, just like, ugh, I
Oh
wrote
my god,
those.
the fact that you bring that up, oh my god, it's so funny. Like, because sometimes I'll like listen to voice actor lines real fast just to make sure they got all the lines and didn't skip anything, and I'll just like be listening to it in silence, and they'll be saying the same thing like 3 times over, and I'll be like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, but after I get over that, it's like much easier to I guess like just well, so far I didn't really have to do that much, but I have edited like little audio drama thingy-majigs
Oh, that's
before.
cool.
Kind of they're most I mean both of the audio dramas I like edited were just like really crappy fan fictions. But we don't talk about that. I'll show you if you're interested.
Please do send the link.
Yeah, it's in my drive, but like I find it so fun to piece like all these little things together that are meaningless at first. Like for instance, like someone hopping onto rocks. Like I need rock noises.
Oh my
I need
god, that's the worst part.
I need people walking on. Yeah, it's so hard to find them, especially the free ones.
Oh my god. So that's a
Yeah,
different kind
and
of pain. There actually,
mhm.
I recommend this. There's a website called freesound.org. All you need to do is make an account, and there's so many good free sounds on
Oh,
there.
I am putting that up now on my search bar.
I think it's
Free sound.
freesound.org or freesound.com, something like that. But it's like I think the logo might be red or orange or something. It looks like it was made in 2009, but
Oh, I found it.
yep,
Ooh, okay. Yeah,
yep,
thanks. I'll totally keep this in mind.
yeah, definitely help.
Yeah, and so like those meaningless things such as like walking on grass and like
Oh,
rock
walking on
noises.
grass.
Oh boy. And just like eventually it all pieces together to make it sound like things are coming to life. That I find I love that
You're
so
so
much.
lucky. You're so lucky. I think the part
Yeah,
that I hate the most about it is I could never get the volume of everything just right.
oh that is difficult.
Because
Yeah.
like someone just growled again. Because like I think that was a pretty big collective criticism for episode 1 of the reboot
Mhm.
is like sometimes the music was too loud and you couldn't really hear the lines very well, which obviously
Mhm.
like you don't notice because you have the lines practically memorized. So like it doesn't
Yeah.
really show up for you, but like when other people are hearing it for the first time, it's like harder for them to understand and like grasp. So I had to make sure I had everything perfect this time for audio editing, and like all the sound effects were like quiet enough where it didn't like,
Yeah.
take the viewer out of it or anything. But ugh.
Yeah, it's really tricky. That's why it's also like really helpful to like have people listen to a whole
Yeah,
episode before it comes out.
yeah, definitely. I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, you totally want like beta watchers. Just have beta for everything. That's the
Definitely.
whole moral of
Beta
the story.
beta people are essential.
Garden Salad asks, will Gertrude return in the reboot? I am not sure who this character is.
Absolutely, she will. She's just like an inside joke that some people from the original TSH had, and it's an inside joke that I have with my current crew right now.
Uh,
Gertrude, she was actually one of the guards in episode 6 who was like had the super gruff like voice that because Garden actually voice acted her, did a super gruff voice as a joke, and I'm like, okay, I'm so putting this in because this is hilarious. But apparently it just like spiraled into like some meme, and every time there was a crowd scene, I would put her in there in the back. So she would just show up at like the craziest times, and we made some joke that she was like immortal. So because she pops up in like the prequel PMBs and then like later on in the series too, so she just like never stops aging. But yeah, she pops in a lot. Like she's like white with like brown and black stripes and like patches of different color on her fur. Like she pops in on episode 10 too. She attacks Luna. She's in the Pumped Up Kicks PMB. Like she's everywhere. So I'll definitely be putting her back in the reboot.
I totally gotta look at that after this whole discussion is done.
Yeah, she's something else. I just love sticking her in places and seeing people lose their mind when they find her.
It's like one of those Easter eggs, like, look at this.
It's so funny.
Question number 3, also from Garden Child. In your opinion, what do you think makes a good protagonist?
Ooh, I like this question. Let me think. I think what makes a good protagonist to me is if they seem like, for lack of a better phrase, they seem human. Like they're well-rounded and like I think something that's really important is I think a protagonist has to also have flaws to make them good. Like I'm not good, but like make them believable, I should say. Like I think a protagonist should have flaws that also they overcome later on that like makes them a good protagonist as well, because it like shows how they grow, like not in terms of like plot, but also in terms of like character arcs and like development and personality. That's always really interesting to see. I actually did this for my own series too. Like Jackson, he's obviously not perfect. Like he, for lack of just to say, like he kind of doesn't have a spine in the first couple episodes. Like he just kind of rolls with the punches, and he also kind of like in a very discreet way. Like you can see he like defends his sister, but he also kind of enables her in a way. Like for example, in the first episode when like she dropped the bird to Apollo and Lunas and she like mocked them and they ran away. Instead of Jackson being like, at first he was like, why would you do that? Like that was rude. Instead of like continuing to call her out and like correct her behavior, he then goes, well, we can just eat out here for tonight, which kind of, you know, is a semi-reward for her action. So first he doesn't have a spine, and second he like unconsciously enables his sister's like bad behavior. But then obviously like his personality will transform and like change throughout the series because he'll end up having to learn some harsh lessons regarding all of this stuff too. Like there's some other flaws and stuff too he has, but they're not as big. But those are the big main two that I gave him. But yeah, I think a protagonist needs to be flawed, and I think also they need to have very clear motives for like why they're doing what they're doing. And that goes for an antagonist too, but definitely a protagonist. But yeah.
Yeah, just listening to you like talk about that character development just already like tells me how much you've improved since the original like going home. Because like I guess you have like it seems like you have an idea of like where that character development is going to go, and like how the little intricacies of for like the audience to figure out, and you just don't blatantly tell. One of my pet peeves is when like in just storytelling in general is just like blatant show don't tell. Like it's hard to like it's hard to do that, but just saying that like for instance oh my brother is a big meanie.
I agree. I'm with you 100%.
It's like just like simple things like I mean everyone struggles with it, but like simple things like that just show like the brother like just knocking the protagonist down in like whichever way. Just like
go into like character psychology and stuff. Like I remember when the episode 1 released, I think it might be one of the top comments now. Someone wrote like basically an essay like psychoanalyzing like Jackson and Vivian. I was like, oh my god, someone understood it. I'm doing something right.
Yeah, I saw that comment. I want to go back to that right now. It was basically a whole essay just analyzing Jackson's character here.
Yeah. I was like, oh my god, I'm so happy. There was definitely some things that like weren't correct, but like it'll be explained later on. But like the majority of it was right on the nose.
I think Jackson is an enabler type for Vivian due to his submissive nature. Wow, that's right on the nose, right off the bat.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Wow. That's awesome, though. Yeah, I'll definitely go back to that comment just to refresh on the essay that they wrote.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just my like a little note to add with the protagonist. Just because they're the protagonist doesn't mean that they have a good heart.
Definitely.
Like,
oh my gosh, yes.
I feel like what I mean, like I don't really do this. I mean, I probably should write the story if I want like this to happen, but like my protagonist goes different ways, I guess. Well, it's not really cliche, but like it's a kid. Well, but whatever. Well, like people will see when the first episode ever comes out of that thing. But like,
Yeah.
Like anti-hero protagonists and just
Oh my
like
god, that's my favorite trope. It's my favorite freaking trope.
villain protagonists. Like protagonists are just
Yeah, a
the
protagonist doesn't
characters
have
that
to be a
you're.
good person. Like
Yeah, the definition of protagonist is just like you
main
seeing their
character. Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it could be anything. I would love to see more series with anti-heroes and villains as protagonists. And
I'm
then you
so
just end up
excited.
rooting for them, like Towpath. Watch Towpath. This is just a whole ad for Towpath.
Franklin's gonna be watching this. Like, what the heck is going on?
Yep. Yeah, just more of that, please. Of course, you like want to make maybe you want to make the character likable to an extent, or like make them fun to hate.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Do you think that like? Well, you're probably gonna. I probably know the answer to this already, but like, do you think Lunas is a good antagonist a good protagonist in your eyes?
Ah, no. It like makes me genuinely sad because she had so much potential and she was just victim of bad writing. Like, oh god, I could have done so much with her and I just didn't. She was
You mind
not
like
a good
saying?
she was not a good protagonist at all. I mean, she got the job done, but I think the biggest I mean like I could go on for hours about her issues, but I think the biggest thing that sticks out to me is in the in the finale, Rose was like, "Hey, you're the only one that cares. Go kill him." And then she doesn't even do it. Everyone else does. So she literally didn't serve her life purpose. She didn't serve it.
Oh my god, it's like the whole like thing with the group project that like you just put the last little piece in it and then
I
like you get all the
know.
credit.
Oh, it makes me so sad. It's like if I would have just had someone review it, they would have caught that immediately and they just I mean, also like I just thought that I mean, her whole character was supposed to be like kind of it was originally supposed to be like snarky, but then like as worse and worse things started to happen to her, she kind of started to shut down a little bit more and like be more closed off. But it just came off as her being like a brat and like rude. But that truly is just a victim of bad writing. Like if I were to rewrite her today, like I would still keep her like she was still kind of bubbly at first, but then like as more and more stuff like happened to her, like you would kind of see her like deteriorate and like all that. But she would still be kind to people, but you would see her be more closed off. And I think like just showing like how she responds to bad things is another like reason why people didn't like her because she just kind of seemed like rude and mean the whole time. But like you could and if I were to ever like do something with her like that again, which obviously I can't because her character arc isn't the same in the reboot. But like if I were to go back and change it, like I would definitely dive more into like why she behaves the way that she behaves and like why her like basic like quote unquote defense mechanism is like being rude and mean to people. Like I never explored that and like it just comes off as her being bratty when in response like she's a troubled, traumatized teenager and her whole life got turned upside down. And I just never brought that to justice pretty much.
Yeah, see. But recognizing that shows that you've improved.
Yeah, definitely.
And you are 13.
Yeah, I was a kid.
But yeah, question number 4 from Savage Kiku. Did you ever think that when first starting TSH that you would attract a huge fan base for it? How does it feel to know that your series is beloved by all?
Oh. I mean, to start off, definitely, I did not think this would gain as much traction as it did, and it's it still completely baffles me that it has, because I mean, I don't really know what people see in it that much anymore. But I mean, it means the world to me that I have like a following this large and like this devoted and loyal to like whatever I like turn out. Like that's huge. Like it keeps my motivation going. Like that's like my biggest source of motivation. It's just like all the fan stuff and like the support I get. And it's just, it really does mean the absolute world to me.
Do you ever worry about your influence?
Oh, yes, I really do. I feel like that's a large concern I have is I
Uh,
think people put me on a pedestal a lot, and they have this perception of me, or like they project like different things onto me, like how I behave, how I act, like all that stuff. But I also, in another sense, like I'm basically responsible for all of these kids because A, I'm a big content creator, and B, I am an adult, which means it
mhm.
is my responsibility to make sure that I put on like an appropriate facade. I'm not rude, I'm not mean, I'm appropriate, I'm not doing anything bad, which it can be stressful sometimes. Um,
Yeah.
but I also think that it is, like I said before, it is my responsibility to be, good to everyone and to not like, you know, do anything bad because I do have a lot of people following me, and I'm sure I have like a lot of little kids that look up to me, and little kids don't have critical thinking skills yet, so they might see something I do and then they might do it too, which like if I do something bad and they do it too, like that'll be really bad. Like it's a horrible domino effect that I don't want to create.
Hmm.
So I don't know how long you've been following my stuff, but I remember like a couple years ago, like I I'm a lot more like reserved, and I have a lot bigger of a filter now than I used to have. But I also used to be like a kid, and I also did not have very well of critical thinking skills. So I used to just say whatever I would want, whatever I wanted, and I would be rude to people. I'd be mean to people, especially when I was 14. I was a demon. Oh my goodness. If anyone knew me when I was 14, I sincerely apologize. I was so rude to people. And it
Oh
was
boy.
like, looking back on it, I'm like, if I would have seen that, like, past me now, I would have thought, wow, this kid needs to get off the internet. This kid's a jerk. So, yeah, definitely now I think I'm a lot more, like, reserved. Like, I don't have a filter like with my friends, obviously, but since I have like a big platform, it is my responsibility to be like, nice
Yeah.
and have a filter and set a good example, pretty much.
Yeah, because I think that's highly respectable because the thing that other pet peeve of mine with like larger influencers, like say like millions of followers, like I was like watching this thing, like I guess it was a tangent from a creator that I used to follow that was like, I didn't ask to be a role model. Or like I didn't like go into this
Oh my
with
God.
teaching kids. And like the problem with that mentality is that you are a role model now, whether you like it or not. Yeah, you have millions upon millions of people that watch you and will listen to you to whatever you
That
say.
makes my skin crawl that people say that. And I don't know if you're on like Twitter or not, but I think that happens a lot with like
In
Warriors
my existence.
creators. Like they end
Oh,
up getting
really?
like called out for stuff because they're terrible people. And they're like, well, I didn't choose to have like people following me and stuff. It's like, but yeah, you didn't choose that. But on one hand, if you didn't, like, you could step down and just do it as a hobby. Like, clearly you like the fame and attention, or else you
Yeah.
wouldn't be doing it. And second, like, I know you didn't choose it. None of us did, but it's your responsibility. Like, especially if you are a content creator as an adult and you have a large minor audience, that is absolutely critical that you are appropriate and not like horrible to them, or you say anything bad, or you do anything bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, just
Yeah.
long story short, you're responsible whether you like it or not.
Yeah. So that's why I like have a bit of a meh if I ever want to become popular or not. Because like, yeah, I want to be recognized, which
Yeah.
is cool. Because like I want people to pay attention to the stuff that I create, because that's like a natural response and a natural
Yeah.
desire. You just don't want the repercussions that come with it. Like, I can't even imagine what it's like to have 10,000 people, for all I know, like, watching
It's
what
a
I do.
lot. Yeah.
Even that is a lot.
I'm not gonna lie, it does get stressful sometimes, especially when like if people are being like obvious, like if I see people like being rude in like comment sections or stuff, or like people being
Mhm.
rude to me, or like rude to my voice actors, or rude to my crew, and I reply, I have to always make sure that I'm not aggressive back, because you don't know
Mhm.
if that's a kid on the other line. And if you look like you're an adult, like being aggressive towards a kid, like no matter what happened originally, that's not a good scenario. Like you have to be responsible no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, that does seem like a lot, but you're
It's
handling
frustrating
it
too because
well.
I get some nasty comments and I want to just sometimes I'm like
Yeah.
I want to reply with something snarky, but I can't. But you know,
Yeah,
it is what it is.
yeah, especially with, like, the digital mask, like, you're much braver on the internet, and I know that from
Mhm.
experience, so, like,
Oh yeah.
you have a larger well, depending on who you are, well, speaking from experience, you have a larger tendency to bite back at stuff and, like, tell
Yeah.
people that, like, if you were, like, on the subway, for example, and they say something that you don't agree with, you wouldn't, like, go up to them, say, "Hey, I
Mhm.
don't really agree with this opinion of yours, let's have a discussion about it." Rather on the
Yeah.
internet, I was like, "Let's go. Let's
Yeah.
talk."
Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah, it's a bit different, but it may be a big weight to carry, but I think you're doing it really well, so
Oh, thank you.
if that is sort of calming in any sort of way.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it also helps too because I think a lot of like my other friends who have like bigger followings too, we're all in the same boat. And I think what also
Mhm,
helps is if you have your friends keep you in check too. Like if like this has happened to me a couple of times actually, where I'll like say something and it'll come off the wrong way. I'll have a friend shoot me a DM and be like, "Hey, you probably didn't mean it this way, but this came off like rude,
mhm,
or this came off like mean, and or it came off as this way. Like you might want to either clarify or apologize because this is just coming off as, you know, not very
yeah.
nice." And I really do appreciate that because like whenever something like that happens, it's never my intention. And it makes
Mhm,
me happy that I have people to keep me in check, and like I can keep my friends in check too. Because, you know, especially if something like pretty bad happens and you're like obviously like blinded by rage or like blinded by like your emotions, you're not going to think what you're saying.
mhm,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, just take a breather and
Yeah, take it
just
back,
think.
take a minute away, calm down.
Uh, question number 5 from Popborns. How long did the story of TSH take to develop, both the OG and the reboot?
Well, the OG took an embarrassingly short amount of time, which is probably why it was so short, or why it was so bad. I think the original only took like, oh god, I think I wrote the whole thing in like a week.
Oh
No,
my.
I think it was even less than that. I think it was
Oh
like
my.
3 days.
What? Oh my
But
god.
obviously, like it went through revision after revision as the series went on. So I mean, like from start to finish, from like 2015 to I don't know what year I finished it. I think it was 2018 or 2019. But like from then until then, probably 3, 4 years. And then for the reboot, I think I put 4 or 5 months of prep work into it, which is
Mhm.
still that's a while actually for all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think 4 or 5 months. But I also think I would include the OG in my time as preparation because I had all of that and like what I learned and like what I
Mhm.
wanted to do again. So I would probably say like for the reboot, if you want to go like from blank slate, it took me 4 or 5 months. But from like as a whole, it took me like 5 years. So
Yeah. Yeah, that really puts it into perspective.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, go on your own pace. It obviously, like, depends on how intense you've been working on it, like, for a few if you, like whatever makes you confident, and don't feel like you have to set things in stone before you start, like,
Definitely.
if you wanna change something when episode, like, 1 comes out and you didn't introduce it yet, feel free to change it, it's not too late.
Yeah, definitely. I agree because I think something that people also need to understand is even though you might write your series synopsis before you release episode 1, you will still make changes in the future to your plot.
Mhm.
Like I've already added like 5 extra scenes in like future episodes and I thought I was done like totally when I finished the first draft. So just definitely be
Mhm.
aware that you will make changes later on.
Yeah. Oh boy. It would be I guess that could be difficult, especially if you ever heard the saying like kill your darlings or something, where like there's something that you really want to be in it, but it just doesn't fit at all.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's best to just remove it than try to like
I've been
carve
there
all around it.
so many times. Oh
And
my
it's painful.
God. Oh, it's so sad. So many things I wanted to do. I just can't do
Yeah.
it because it doesn't fit.
Yeah. Um Question number 6 from Happy Texan 7. How different is the TSH reboot compared to the previous one?
Oh my God, they're
Oh.
not the same. Honestly, I said this in the comments and like description and stuff. I would honestly treat the reboot as its own unique thing. I mean, there's 13 episodes in total, for the reboot, but like original, but it's just nothing is the same. I'll just say pretty much episode 5 on, it's entirely new material.
Wait, I assume that the Stolen Hope holds a different context now, like as a
Yeah,
title, right?
yeah, that's actually interesting you brought that up. I wanted to change the series title, and then I got a lot of
Yeah.
pushback from it actually because people were like, "No, like your people are not going to recognize what it is. You're going to like lose a lot of your audience because they're probably
Oh,
not going to be
really?
familiar with it. Like it's not going to hold that much weight. Like even though it is a reboot, I
Uh,
would still keep the title because like, the title of the original, like the Stone Hope was in reference to Lunas being taken by
yeah.
Iris. Um, but in the reboot, it's not the same with like Lunas and everything. There's still something that keep it as least spoilery as possible,
Mhm.
but there is something that is taken in the reboot that is very, very critical,
Mhm.
but it's so loose and so like it's just it still fits, but very loosely.
Wow, I can't believe people told you that though.
I kind
I
of have
mean,
to agree with them though, like, because I feel like if I were to see a series like being rebooted and I didn't really follow the creator that well, because I mean, like 90% of the people who are subscribed to me don't follow me on like Instagram or Twitter or
mhm.
Discord. If they would have seen me put out something else at a different title and like different character designs, they would
Yeah.
have no idea it was a reboot. So
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, I bet that like a good amount of people would still like if you announce that, oh, I am releasing this new series, and then I kind of explain that like it's a Still and Hope reboot, but like not really because it's barely it barely follows the same plot. I guess maybe like
I actually
that would have been
tested
the
the
idea.
waters with that. I posted like an update video one time. It was when I first launched my Patreon. I was like launching the reboot, and it only got like a fraction of the views I usually get on videos. And then when I released the intro for episode 1, people like the majority of the people were like, "Oh, you're rebooting this?" I'm like, "Yeah, if you would have watched my video, you would have known." So I feel like if I were to create like a video like talking about the title change and stuff, not enough people would see it, and it just
Yeah.
wouldn't gain enough traction, which is why I was like, might as well keep the title.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but yeah, I guess I'm glad that like people would know that like it's the Stolen Hope, but like not really.
Yeah.
Did you think of ever changing like all the characters' names? Oh.
Um, that's actually so weird you bring that up because that never crossed my mind. And honestly, I feel like some of them could have used the name change. I mean, Atticus got their name changed, but that was the extent of name changes. Because
Mhm.
honestly, I mean, I don't even know if I would want to change any of their names because all of their names fit them to some extent. The only name I would
Yeah.
probably change would be Hesia, but the only reason I would change that is because A, nobody can pronounce it, and B, it's made up and it has like no
Uh.
meaning behind it. But yeah, I feel like the rest of them still kind of fit. I think that just the names like Vivian and Jackson are iconic to who they are.
Yeah.
And like same with like Lunas and Aries and Vixie, like I don't even know who I would change for names except for Hezia, and that's about it.
Yeah. That's interesting. Question number question number 7 from Frolink. I think that's how
Frolicking.
it's
Frolicking.
Frolic. Oh, I see that. Okay. Frolicking. What inspires you to keep creating? What do you consider while writing out your lore and plot?
So what inspires me, we got into this a little bit earlier, but music is a huge inspiration for me, but also I think my biggest motivational factor right now is just like fans and like support and all that. Like
Mhm.
getting fan art and stuff is like, oh my God, I still get super excited over it. Like even now. Oh
Oh,
my
you
God.
must have tons.
I don't know how like bigger content creators like don't acknowledge it. I'm like, what is wrong
I
with
don't.
you? But yeah, I try to make my best effort to say thank you to every single piece of fan art I get. Like it's just I don't know why you wouldn't, to be completely honest, but I mean, to each their own, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely like fan support, music, all that stuff. My friends definitely give me a huge support system.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that's pretty much it for like inspiration. What was the second part of the question? I forget.
What do you consider while writing out your lore and plot?
Um, hmm. Well, first what I usually do is I like jot down like very, very loose notes and like bullet points of like what I want this specific thing to do. So like for example, like the light curse, I renamed it to Rose's Blessing for reasons we will get into in episode 2. Or
Ooh.
episode 3, I mean. But like what else, for example, I'll be like, okay, I want it to do this, this, and this, and I want it to connect to this plot point. And then from there, I will try to mold it like almost like putty into like the plot synopsis and like how it connects to
Mhm.
everything. And then I'll flesh it out from there. I'll add like little details, like things it does, like how it works, how it doesn't work, and all that. And then I'll double check everything, make sure it lines up, and then I'll be good to go. Um, but I usually do that for like all my lore and stuff. And then a big thing for like, like setting and stuff. I do a lot of research about like just like land and stuff and like how certain things behave
Mhm.
and like how civilizations work around land. Like I actually drew out a map for the reboot.
Oh, boy.
So
Can
I
you
have like,
show?
yeah,
Or
let me dig through it actually.
I love maps so much.
Yeah, where is it? It's in my official reboot stuff somewhere. I gotta scroll up
Mhm.
here for it. Um, but yeah, I made a map because there's a lot of geographical things in the reboot that hold a lot of significance. Like for
Mhm.
example, there's like what's it called? It's called like oh, here it is, the Stone Valley. And the Stone Valley is super important because like for example, that's where Romulus was killed by Rose, and like there's a bunch
Mhm.
of stuff that happens there that's like super critical, and like the whole like the battle hills and like how the forest behaves. Here, I found it. I'll send it right now. But yeah, I just did that to also keep me in track because like there's a lot of traveling. Like there's actually an arc in the reboot that's just a travel arc where they have to go find something like a ways away, and I needed the map to figure out how I was going to get them there and like what they were going to encounter like while they
Mhm.
were doing it. So I just sent the map. There it is.
Whoa.
Yep.
Oh, this is clean.
Thank you.
The Kingdom of Thorns Castle. Wow, that got a changed name too?
Yeah, the Lights of the Kingdom of the Thorns, just a play on Rose's name, like Rose Thorns, Kingdom of the Thorns, all that.
Mhm.
And then the Cursed Empire Castle. It actually used to be called Romulus's Empire, and then Ares renamed it out of spite. So,
I like the name changes rather than just lights and
yeah,
darks.
generic dark and light. It's like, I wonder who the good guy is.
Oh,
But
but
yeah,
yeah, wow. Oh,
Warlock
this is really
ruins, hint,
interesting.
hint, nudge, nudge. That will be very critical later on.
Well, I love how they're separated by a river. It looks
Yeah,
really
that
important.
river is very important.
Mhm. Banded Curse Training Base. Hmm.
Hmm. Hmm.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Wow, this is really interesting to look at. I love seeing maps. Like I love seeing how like the geography of fake like lands are played out and how people
Yeah.
kind of just mess around with them. But yeah,
Someone said it kind of looks like a weird Australia.
I see that. I see that, huh? Where does this like hypothetically take place? Have you like thought of that, or just like, oh, this is
somewhere
a
in
land?
somewhere in like northern Canada or southern Canada.
Oh wow, you actually have an answer to
Yeah, yeah, just because like the in terms of like the foliage and like the trees and
that.
like all the like the weather they deal with, it's definitely somewhere where it's like cool but not super cold, but like, because I know Canada has like a ton
Mm,
of like pine trees and stuff too. So yeah,
mm.
southern
Oh, that's
Canada.
interesting. I didn't think you would have an answer for that. Um, all right, yeah. Well, I'm gonna continue staring at that for like after, but
Yeah,
uh,
you'll look at some of this and be like,
hmm. But one thing I do want to say, like with the first part of this question is what inspires you to keep writing. Support is underrated.
oh my God, I know.
Like I could go on a whole tangent about this, but like lots of people, in my opinion, lots of people like cancel a series when they feel like they've just lost motivation, and that's because they didn't
Yeah,
find
that's
support,
sad.
or like when they are not supported. Like I feel like I'm a voice actor, and so the series that tend to be canceled, or like just don't tend to have a lot of support behind their back, and I find that really
Yeah.
unfortunate. Like
Yeah,
it's
that is
really
a
hard to
bummer.
reach out and find a place within this like community where you could have online friends and like
Definitely.
ideas and stuff. And I feel like it's a big factor to like how well your series is going to go in this sort of way. Like motivation can only get you so far because what happens when you run out of that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um
Because you
so
will
yeah.
run out of it. I think people don't understand that you will get burnout and you will be unmotivated. So as long as you have a good support system, I think that really, really helps.
hmm So yeah, I just wanted to go on like a little rant about that because yeah. Um Question number 8 from Caracal429. How do you think your current animation and editing will compare to that of the original? Oh boy,
um,
that sounds like a fun laugh.
um, I mean, I think all I'm gonna say is just look at the comparison between episode one of the OG and then episode one of the reboot. Like you can even see like in terms of backgrounds, like it's night and day. Like it truly is night and day. Um, yeah, so I think like overall everything, this is gonna sound so weird, but in terms of like spatial depth, I improved a lot. Like it's like in some points, like it looks like you can walk in to the scene and like look around and see everything versus in the original, it was like, okay, it's just a wall of trees and sky and like that's about it. But now I make sure I'm like, we're gonna add hills and like we'll add some bushes over here and like some moss over here and like some things over here to make it look like more of like a distressed landscape pretty much. So in terms of backgrounds, I think I
Yeah.
really improved in that sense. And also color theory, I think I improved because like all of my backgrounds and like color palettes for the reboot have meaning behind them. Um,
Ooh.
so like for example, like in episode uh one, the sky at like the point where Jackson and Vivian, like, same scene I was talking about earlier, where like Vivian drops the
Mhm.
bird and she's like, haha, you guys suck, and like leaves. Like the colors were all very carefully chosen to like, because like a lot of the colors, like the way they mix it, like symbolize like, like rivalry or like distress or like distraction and like
Wow.
all that stuff. And then like same thing for like Iris's death scene. Like I chose a lot of reds and oranges to symbolize like aggression and anger and heartbreak and all that stuff. Um, so I do that a lot. I really, really love color theory and like determining what colors mean. And also in terms of like character design too, like I think I improved a lot with that for the reboot. I know some people were sad about like the whole Sparkle Cat getting cut out. And I'm a little sad too, but I think my designs for the reboot are like significantly stronger in my opinion in terms of like
Yeah.
color, like how they play out with each other, like they're aesthetically pleasing and like how they relate to like family genes and stuff and how like I'm just like going on a tangent, but like I put so much time into the character design. It's not even
Oh, and
funny.
it shows.
Like I gave Vivian her dad's beard. Like in episode 2, they have the same chin. And like,
Mhm.
Jackson has his mom's like head shape and stuff. And like he has her eyes and stuff. And just like, and also like Lunas and Hezia are very, very similar in like body shape and color scheme and all that.
Yeah.
And same with Apollo and his dad. He gets a lot of his colors from his dad and all that. And like body shape, I love shape language and like what shape language means for different characters. Like Jackson is like pretty round, then he's like, friend shaped. And there's Apollo, he's just an orb and he's just there for a good time. And then like Vivian's like very, very spiky and like, she has a lot of angles, like shows she's like pretty, rude and like off-putting and like just all that. So like character design I think improved a lot too. I'm gonna be completely honest, I don't even remember what the original question was. I'm just going on a tangent.
No, it's completely okay because I love your character design. Like
Thank
like
you.
the effort in it is like one thing I struggle with, and I feel like a lot of artists struggle with, is shape language and like just different like silhouettes for characters.
Yeah.
Like for
It
me, I
is
guess
really, really difficult. I still struggle with it.
yeah, but you're doing it really well. So
Thank you.
yeah, so like I want to keep to realism, but like I don't want everything looking the same. You could just experiment with different body types. So,
yeah, that's usually really hard. Oh wait, the question was like how the OG differentiates between the reboot. Okay, now I remember. Now that's why I'm going on my tangent. The character designs are different. I can't think of what else. I mean, obviously, like story-wise, like there's a lot. I think weirdly enough, I think the subplots in the reboot are significantly stronger than they were in the OG. Because like the subplots in the OG just never lined up or finished or were concluded. Like, cringe. But in the reboot, they all like intertwine with one another, and like I think what's really cool is like in the last 3 episodes of the reboot, everything comes crashing together, and like the viewer is gonna be like, "Oh my god, this is from this. This is from this." So I think that'll be really fun to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh my god, I want to talk about it so much, but like obviously I'm not gonna do spoilers. I just am so excited to show everything. Let me think of what else. I mean, story, backgrounds, character design, all that. I mean, I didn't obviously the animation in the OG would be better because I did frame by frame, but I think the PMV art style's fine too. So yeah.
Yeah, it's much more detailed and intricate. I mean, I prefer that. I mean, like, also your art improvement and just in total is like obviously gonna make the art better. Like however you want to structure a series, whether it be animated, which oh god, that is a pain.
It is a pain.
So yeah, I understand why people just want to do PMV.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely took a lot of weight off. And I feel like in some ways with PMV you can display a lot of stuff differently than anime, like doing it frame by frame. Like really? I don't know how to describe it. Like in terms of like emotion and like shading the character and like back to color theory, like it's a lot more successful with PMV than I think animated, because animated is just so much harder to pull off like all the little intricate details and stuff. But at the same time, I think like, you know, dialogue and character acting and emotion is more successful in animated than PMV. But I mean, to each their own. Those are my personal opinions.
Yeah, it allows people to admire the art more too, even if it's just for a mere like 5 more seconds. Like that 5 seconds is essential.
Yeah.
But yeah, if that's the end of the comparison, I guess you could go on to the next question.
Yeah, it is.
I like this question. From question 9 from Claire, what's your favorite map part you've created relating to the Stolen Hope?
Ooh, definitely my identity one by far. I'll grab the link real quick. It was the one with Rose and Warlock. That was the first time I actually used like animation principles in my map part and like really, really focus on environment and atmosphere. And I just think it played off so well. Also, I animated the lightning in this, and I just think it looks really sick. So hold on, let me grab it.
Oh, heck yeah, patting yourself on the back.
I know. I'm just like, I was good at this, and I'm gonna tell you. I'm sure by like next year when I look back on it, I'll be like, ew, this is gross. But for now, I'm like, I like this.
Yes, I remember watching this. Just a pause so I could watch this. That is a smooth run cycle.
Thank you.
Big lightning.
Thank you. Yeah, I put a lot of time into it, and I think it shows. I'm glad. I did have to use Adobe Anime, which is a hellish program, but you know, it is what it is.
Oh, that seems like a lot of work. But yeah, all right. Question number 10, Claire, what's your favorite thing about me? I can't answer this question.
Claire, smoosh smoosh, kiss kiss. Honestly, I think just like the drive for like because she has a series too called oh my god, it's so good. You guys need to watch it. I'm plugging my friend's series. Falling Leaves, it's so good. The first episode is out.
Nine leaves?
Falling
What's it?
Leaves.
Falling Leaves, okay.
FALLINGLEAV. Yes,
All
yeah.
right.
But yeah,
Probably not something enough right now.
Z's working on the second episode right now, and I think they're like, I don't know how far they are. But yeah, it's so good. I love it. And I just think the motivation she has for it is super admirable. And I just love it.
Where
Because she's, I
is
mean,
it?
like she's just, oh my God, she's so dedicated to it and I love it so much.
Do you mind linking it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll grab it. Yeah, it's another small series. It's
After we're done.
yeah, plus Z's art style just improves so much in the second episode. It's so exciting to see. I don't know when they're planning to release it. I don't think they have a due date yet or anything. But when it comes, it comes.
Question number 7 from Cat Warrior 77. What inspired or / inspires your series and ideas?
Inspiration for now. I think watching like other forms of media, like branching out to other forms of media and seeing how like other genres like pull off different things is super cool to see, and like adding it to your own stuff. Like for example, like seeing how character interactions between two characters in like let's say a romance movie versus like an action movie, like seeing how that plays out is really really inspiring. And like you know, depending on the mood for the scene that you're writing, like you can gather inspiration from like that kind of stuff. Also like I said before, music, and like a huge one is like seeing other people's series in the community, because it's like, oh my god, this is so cool, like now it's making me want to do it too and all that stuff. But yeah, I think just like observing other forms of media is really, really cool. And, you know, just like branching out and doing different things. It's really fun. I actually, fun fact, I have never seen a Marvel movie up until a couple of weeks ago. And I started watching like each one individually, one by one, with my boyfriend. And I'm cranking through them. I'm loving them. And there's so much stuff in there that I'm like, oh my goodness, this is a cool trope. I want to do this too. So that's been really cool. So yeah, it's really, really, really fun to see.
Have you like absorbed the fact that like people are inspired by you?
It's such a weird concept to grasp, and I don't even know if I still do it to like the full extent, because like the way that I look up at people, I'm like, there's no way that people do the same thing for me. Like some of the content creators that I follow, I'm like, oh my god, like this stuff is so cool. Like there's points in time where I'll like periodically just like check up on their social media to see if they posted anything else. And I sit there, I'm like, there's no way anyone's doing this for me, but I know there are people that do that, and it's just like so like wild to think about. And it's just crazy, and it's so like heartwarming and motivating, and it makes me feel really good, because like this is like a little corny, but like looking like just the thought of like another like young kid looking up to me, I'm like, oh my god, I was in that spot before, and I hope that I can like inspire them enough so that like one day they can grow up and do the same thing, and like then they can inspire someone else, you know, like all that stuff.
Yeah, honestly, I know have such a smaller like audience than you, but like, which I don't mind, but like, but like just even the fact that like I've heard people that like, oh, I'm inspired to start my series because of this podcast. I'm like, what?
Oh, that's so cute.
It's just like, yeah, it kind of like freaks me out, but like even with like the small numbers that I honestly don't mind that I have, because I like it.
Yeah.
Like even I just can't comprehend that, because I was in that same spot too. And I've said this analogy before on this podcast many times, but like there's a lot of people here that'll be listening, so I'll say it again, where like inspiration is like a staircase. And you're on like one level of it, and then you look up to this person for like or look up to multiple people for inspiration, and you kind of like see them at a higher level, but like not in an idolizing way, hopefully, just like, oh, you're inspiring me and I want to do this because of you sort of level. But then staircases go up and they go down, so like if you look back, you're like, oh shoot, there are people there looking at me too. it's a surreal feel like.
That's a really cool analogy. I know you've said this before, and I'm like, I heard that the first time you said it. I was like,
Oh, really?
whoa. Yeah, I was like, whoa, that's such a good way to put it. Like, that's so cool.
Yep. And it's kind of terrifying. It's
Yeah,
like
just a smidge.
but yeah, 13th question from Child of Destiny. What tips would you give for those who desire to become a voice actor and are struggling VAs?
Um, well, I'm not a voice actor, so I don't think my advice really holds that much weight. I'm very, very sorry. But if I were to say anything, I would just say do it. Like, just put yourself out there, audition for as much stuff as you can, put your full effort into it, because I think something that I've learned is I have an appreciation for voice actors who like are overly dramatic, for lack of a better phrase, or like really, really emotional, because their emotion comes through so well versus like someone just like flatly saying a line like the same time 3
Mhm.
times over. I think like, put yourself out there, audition for as much stuff as possible, and just go crazy with it. Like just go ham with it. That's the best
What
advice I would give.
what advice do you think you could also give like in the perspective of a director? Because like I don't know if you
I'm
think of
rubbing.
yourself
You,
like that,
you
but
can't see
like
my hands, but my hands are rubbing together.
you because like I don't know if you think of yourself like that, but like writing scripts, and I don't know if you give feedback to your voice actor saying like, oh, can you deliver it like this time,
Yeah,
or like
yeah.
stuff like that. So you may not
It's
really
like a
do
show. It's
voicing
like a
like that much, but
showrunner, I think is the
yeah.
term. The best piece of advice that I can give, and I'll like backtrack on this a little bit, is just do it. Like just go for it, because you would so much rather do it and like realize that you can't than not do it and be forever wondering what would come of it if you did do it.
I love
Um,
that.
so yeah, I would honestly say like just head first, go into it, but also make sure, learn from me, plan everything. Plan everything out, get beta readers to read your stuff. This is like a very, very like personal thing. It's also kind of like a very like little niche detail. Do not write your scripts all at once. Oh my goodness, do not write all of your scripts in the same time. Only write your
Oh
scripts
boy.
after you're done or like almost done with an episode, because that way you can also see how your writing improves throughout time. Because if you write your scripts in like
Yes.
one sitting, like you're not going to see improvement. But if you write your scripts like, periodically as you finish stuff, like you will see strides in like how you like write and how you portray certain things. So yeah, I would definitely like wait to do that. Um, I think like the best thing to do if you want to start a series is like, this is my personal way of doing it, and then I just think it works really well, is first do your plot synopsis, character sheet, and if you want a lore sheet, but you can probably just put that in with the plot synopsis.
Mhm.
After you're done with that, write the first episode script of your show, and then don't do anything with it. Like just have the people read it, like give you corrections, have it sitting there. And then when you're done with that, do all of the character designs, like figure out the tweaks of how they're going to look and all that. And then when you're done with the character designs, then you release your first casting call. And my biggest recommendation is to only release a casting call for like the first like 1 to 3 episodes, depending on like how much you're gonna like, how much time is gonna be between the episodes. Because if you cast like the whole show and you have a character that doesn't come to like episode 9, and it takes you like 6 months to do each episode, like that person's just going to be sitting there, and it's a pretty high risk that that person will like drop from the project, either because of like low
Mhm.
motivation, or they're like genuinely would just like have something else going on in their lives where they can't voice act anymore. That actually happened
Mhm.
to me a handful of times in the original series of Reboot. I had to recast several people just because I either A, couldn't get a hold of them, or B, they just couldn't do it anymore. But yeah, definitely only have a casting call for like the first couple characters that appear throughout the series, and then like make sure you have the lines that like demonstrate like, or like the voice actors to try out, like either have it be from the first episode script or just like what you think they would say later on. Like don't just have them say like, random stuff. I've actually
Mhm.
seen that. I've seen a casting call where the same characters have to say the same exact
Oh
line.
my.
I'm like, what is the purpose of this? But
Yeah, and it's a good time to show like their personality through the lines that you give them too.
yeah, definitely. That way the voice actors will also know what they're trying out for. That's also another good point. Like when you make your casting call, make sure you write like who the character is, like their personality, if they're a major or a minor character, how old they are, maybe if you want like what kind of voice you want, and just like all of that is really important. So that way the voice actors can see like who they're trying out for, like what tone of voice they need to do, or like all that stuff. And also I would, like the whole like the 3 lines, the 3 to 5 lines they say like a couple times over, and all that. But I would also put on the casting call forum just like a couple of disclaimers, be like, hey, like this is a volunteer project only, like I won't be able to like monetize it, like this is a commitment, and the fact that if you audition you are acknowledging the fact that this is going to be a commitment, just like all that stuff, so that way you can like weed out the people that would be like, oh no, I don't want to do this. All of that, and then just wait for your casting call to close, choose your roles, and then just go right into it. If you want to get a team together, do like a little casting call for an art team. That's what I ended up doing, and it really freaking helps. I definitely recommend it to anyone who wants to. It's a good time. I really do appreciate my crew. I would not be even close to the progress I am now if I did not have them with me. Oh my goodness, they are like my backbone. But yeah. And then from there, just do whatever you want.
I also really like the idea of like testing yourself first before you go full throttle, because like I'll go for it, but also be careful. And like I had a lot of I got this idea from Happy Text and Seven, where like, oh, I'm going to do the storyboard for episode 1 before I released the casting call. But before I did the storyboard, I already had like episodes 1 and 2 scripted already. I've been working on the Dream Warrior for like 3 to 4 years, so like that whole knowledge has been stored in the cupboard until the time came. And so I already had a lot in the bag. I was just like, this is the determining factor, huh? And so then like the casting call like came out. I have a crew now. It's weird to see all the progress and stuff, but like
definitely.
But during the process you might realize eventually that like, oh, this is not for me. But that doesn't mean it's the end of the world. Like there are so many ways to tell your story. It doesn't have to be through YouTube at all. Like make it a book. Like if you really like writing, make it an audio drama. If you really like audio editing, and make it a comic. Or if you still like the art aspect but not like the audio part. Like there are so many ways to tell your story. It's kind of limitless. You just pick and choose. But I guess this is the last question with Randy, who's late.
Randy.
Question 14. Which character would you bring to life to live with you permanently, and why? If you can't decide, which one would you banish into the void forever?
That's such a really funny question. Well, when I think of like bringing a character into life, it's like, first of all, do you mean like bringing the cat version of them to where I cannot talk to them? Because if that was the case, I would 100% bring Apollo, because he's very soft and he's very round and he would just lay on me and love me. But if I were to bring one of the characters into life, but like be able to communicate with them, or like maybe bring their like human counterpart into life, let me think. Honestly, maybe Lunas, because she's super upbeat and like supportive of everything, and she's just a good time. Jackson also, because he's just very nice, and he would do anything for his friends. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Trying to think of who else. My gut says Vixie, but I feel like she would just give me the cold shoulder.
Oh boy. It's the Void treatment.
Void. Yeah. We're gonna cast Maxwell into the Void, and we're also gonna cast Ares into the Void. Those two do not deserve any kindness. They get sent to the Void.
Yeah. All right. So wow, that's it for questions. We've been here for
how long has it been? I'm like, we've been here for 3.5 hours because we got on at 2 and talked for like half an hour before that.
Yeah, I mean, you've been really entertaining to talk to, so it's no surprise.
Thank
I
you.
don't know.
That means a lot.
Yeah, I just didn't expect it to be this long either. Wow. I can't believe you put up with me for 3 hours.
Oh my god, no! I had such a good time. Are you kidding me? This was so fun.
But yeah, thanks. It was nice having you here, and I keep forgetting to put this question on all the docs, but it's fine. Um, I got one last question for you before we have to before we do our goodbyes.
Heck
Are
yeah.
you ready? You probably know what it
Yes,
is. You've
I'm
watched it.
ready.
You watched the episodes. You
I'll
probably
just
know what
pretend
it
like I
is.
don't.
Wow, she's totally left in the dark. Here we go. What advice would you give to aspiring YouTube creators or just creators in general?
Kind of touching on what I said before. That was a horrible voice crack, by the way. I'm starting to lose my voice. I've been talking so much. Let me think. Yeah, honestly, what I said before is like going head first, and I think that another big piece of advice I have is don't overthink it. Like I promise you, like if you go back and you're like overthinking it and you're like, this has to be perfect before I release it, like you will wear yourself thin and you will never get anything out because nothing is ever perfect. And I think that was a really hard idea I had to grasp in the past, is that nothing will ever be perfect. I think that's also like kind of beauty behind that too, because like that kind of shows that you're always growing. The fact that you can look back on your stuff and be like, oh, I could have done this differently. Like it shows that you're maturing and you're growing and you're strengthening your skills. So I think just the whole concept of like, don't make everything, pristine and perfect. Get it to a point where you are satisfied and happy with it and then put it out and then like watch yourself grow over time, because I think that's also a huge thing that like people like to see in like indie animated series is seeing how well people improve in terms of like writing or art or just like overall production of their stuff. So yeah, that's a huge piece of advice I have. Another big piece of advice I have is like, this is kind of cliche, but make friends, like connect with people, like reach out to people, talk to them, like make friends with your crew, make friends with your cast, like make friends with other series creators, make friends with just anyone, because like that just strengthens your support network so much, and it makes the whole experience of creating so much more enjoyable to like know the fact that you have people like behind you and like supporting you and like you have people to share an interest with.
Yeah, also, guys, you're gonna hate your first episode anyway.
Yeah, I know. I'm already looking back on episode 1 of the reboot. I'm like, ooh, some of this stuff is not good.
What? No, it's too early. Stop. No. But yeah, but like, yeah, I totally get the whole. It just feels more authentic to like make it. I guess it's really hard. I say like make it perfect for yourself, but even that's difficult if you like overthink it and you just doubt yourself constantly. There just has to be a time where like your drive to just get it out has to triumph over your doubts. Which is really difficult, but your support network helps you through that. And coming from this whole like documented journey with like the pod and stuff to like having it be an idea to just having it actually come to life, I don't think I would have done it if I was never really this involved in the community in the first place. Like voice acting allowed me to meet so many amazing people and learn a lot of new stuff and talk to like people like you, for goodness sake.
Thank you.
With like creators and stuff like that, and it's been a wonderful experience, and I don't regret it one bit. And I feel like I joined at like such a right time when I can feel confident enough. I just needed the boost to be like, oh, hey, you could actually do this now if you wanted to. Because I was thinking of waiting till college. Oh boy.
Oh gosh. No, just do it.
Yeah. Because I mean, again, with me being a kid, I don't really have that much money. I don't my computer is kind of trash. My editing program will shut down in like 2 hours and keep crashing. I draw on my finger with a
Oh my gosh,
biscuit.
you're a finger drawer? You are like so freaking cool. I don't know how you do that. I tried it once. I was like, this hurts.
I just got used to it over time, but like you make do with what you have. There's a lot of free resources again with like the people who just like you have the ability to do it. Like I said before, like we live in the world now where being creative is actively encouraged and accessible. So
Yeah, definitely.
so like do it. You have the ability to do it. But yeah. Oh boy, it's almost 6:00.
I know, I'm like, I need to make myself some dinner now.
But yeah, I guess we're like ending on a right time, and I guess we could just like we have everything up if unless you have anything else that you want to say.
Yeah, I don't have anything else on my mind.
All right. Oh boy. Thanks for listening to this episode of Curtis Lightbulb, hosted by Emblem and today's guest gaLEMtido. It was such an honor to spend this time with you, and I am humbled that you actually watched and listened to this podcast.
Oh, thank you. That means so much. I really do love this podcast. It's so cool.
Thanks. I wish all the best of luck on the Still Enough reboot, and
thank you.
A close eye.
Thank you, and I wish you luck on your series too.
Thank you.
All need it.
No problem. I hope you also enjoyed our discussions, listener, and found yourself inspired. If you did, please stay alert for the next. There is. I mean, I guess you still can. I guess you still can. Like, yeah. I mean, obviously, still free to follow Curtis Lightbulb on literally wherever you listen to podcasts. Who knows when we'll be coming back? And I mean, like I said before, I highly doubt I'm going to just never do this again. There's so much I feel like that I need to. There's so many people I still feel like I need to talk to, and just I want to have discussions with, and just I want people or like small creators that I just want their stories out there in the world or whatever push I can give them or motivation.
Yeah,
so, like,
definitely.
Am I ending this thing? No, that's why we're calling it hiatus, season 1. But yeah, so. I mean, please stay alert for the next episode. We're following Curtis Lightbulb on literally wherever you listen to podcasts. My Discord tag is ggsilveremblem, #8226. My Instagram is at emblem_productions, and my YouTube is ggsilveremblem. Plug your socials, woo! So more people can follow your Instagram!
Well, I'm sure you guys already know. YouTube, gaLEMtido. It's gaLEMtido. Same username on my Twitter account, and then my Instagram is actually not that. I changed the name because I was catering it towards my portfolio, and I just stuck with it. But my Instagram username is alsoka.art, so it's ALSOKA.art, and yeah, that's my Instagram. Those are I think the only social media I use anymore.
I honestly don't know how people are on Twitter, but that's to the side.
It's a little bit of a hell site sometimes, but you know, it's good sometimes. I just keep it on there to post episode updates, but that's about it. And to follow my friends.
All right, everybody. I think that's it. Well, I hope you have a good day, and remember to stay bright. It was bittersweet saying it this time because it's the last time I'm going to say that in a while.